We might be live, so don't say anything dumb.
Trump 2024.
All right, so hold on. I'm gonna check on YouTube, see if we are on YouTube, because I don't know. It says excellent connection. It says stream. So let's see YouTube. Well, we're just about on time, so that's good. Okay, YouTube live. I don't see it yet.
I'm going to log into YouTube.
There's always a little bit of a delay, you know.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries.
But it says the software says we're on the stream, so.
Really? Okay, so I'll put my filters back on.
I hope it's YouTube and not I'm not on another service or something.
We are, and there are 2 people watching.
Oh, okay. I haven't found it yet.
Now I have. Oh, I'm going to unsubscribe from you. It just suggested that. Hey, let me.
Oh, okay. I found the video. All right, I found the video. Oh, of course, I'm getting a commercial, but I gotta turn off the sound because that's. All right, yeah, I see myself. I see you.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's see with the people that are online. Johan Hurl, I see one person. Yes, hello. Okay, tell us, Johan, how's the sound? How's the sound? Julian, just speak a little bit so we can hear your sound.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, so how's the sound? Let's see. First time we do a collaboration like this, so it's going to be a little hectic probably.
Indeed.
All right, anybody, how's the sound? I think we have one person on the stream.
I'm just sharing this now, so give me a second, yeah?
Ah, il parle français. Ok, he speaks French. En français, comment est le son? Est-ce que ça passe bien pour moi? Est-ce que le son est assez bon? Et pour Julien aussi?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, we'll see. Well, we're a little early. Okay, it's actually it's just right on time now. So my sound is okay.
What about mine? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can hear myself in the echo, so.
Right. Theoretically, it should be fine because I can see the bar graph moving when you're talking. So.
Oh yeah.
So theoretically, it should be good. It says that you're lower. You're too low. So let me see if I can boost that up maybe.
Give me a second. I'll try. Hold on.
You seem to be fine on my end, but maybe through YouTube it's not. I don't know.
Give me a second, bud. Don't have in this app you sent me, I don't have any volume controls.
Okay, I'm gonna try on my end to do it. All right, so let's see the sound.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's weird because you're good here. Your sound is, I can hear you just fine. But maybe, hold on, maybe.
Perhaps I simply have to talk louder.
Maybe it's, oh, hold on, say something again. Okay, now I have to find, the problem is that I have to find a way to listen to you also. So because I can't hear you if I don't turn up the volume on the computer, and that's a bit of a bummer. So I'd have to, I think they might hear you through my microphone, you know what I mean?
Oh.
So that's not, yeah, that's not great. Maybe I can add a microphone and have one microphone on the computer, but I should be able to. That sound should be coming your way though.
Looking for the audio gain. Give me a second here.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's that, but let's see. So volume. Okay, I see volume on your end, and I'm at 100% volume on your end.
Test your microphone, advanced settings, manage sound devices. Test your microphone, no input. Master volume.
Oh, okay. I think I found it. Volume source is set to actually be my microphone, so that's the thing. But I think I can actually, I can have that return through the mixing table, and then we should be all right. Okay, so that might.
Sorry?
Okay, so that might do it. So go ahead.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I'm not sure if that works or not. I should have the return here though. I should have the return.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Ok, so Johan, est-ce que le son est mieux maintenant? Go ahead, Julian.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, no, I don't hear you. I don't hear you much. Down. Okay, I'm gonna add a microphone. That's gonna be the simplest here. It's just gonna take a minute. No need to mess around. We'll just fix it like that, real quick. So basically, I'm going to point a microphone to my computer, and that will, of course, bring the sound into the mixing. All right, so, and I'm gonna turn that up. Okay, go ahead.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Much better. Okay, that works.
Hey, and here I have, is that even louder now?
It's loud for me.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Ah, it's doing some sort of automatic level.
Okay.
What the heck is that? I'll try to disable this audio leveling.
Right. I can hear you now because the sound is taken from my computer directly into the mixing table and mixed in.
Oh,
so
we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go. Let's see how many. 5 watching. Okay. All right, guys, we are here with Julian, OH8STN, and myself.
Hello, guys. Hello, Gil.
and we are going to talk about what we think are the best radios, portable radios, in 2024, either new or used. And so you'll be able to ask questions as well in the chat room. And that's about it, really. And some of the radios I picked are the same as yours, not all of them.
Really?
So yeah, of course.
I'm joking. I'm just messing with you.
So first, Julian, for the people who are on my channel who don't know your channel, maybe give us a short explanation of what you do on your channel.
All right, then I'll need to share this live stream. Well, I'm Julian, Oscar Hotel 8, Sierra Tango, November. I'm an American expat living in Finland, and I have a YouTube channel which focuses on off-grid communications. Actually, the channel is called Off-Grid Ham Radio, and I really focus on three key areas: off-grid data communications, so JS8 call, VAR, AC, WinLink, things like that. And we can even narrow that down to networking modes or asynchronous data modes, but I don't want to get off into the weeds. We also focus, or I also focus on off-grid power, so portable power for ham radio communications or communications in the field, and a variety of other things, strategies and things like that, which allow us to operate off-grid, communicate off-grid in any situation. I guess the bottom line of my channel is whatever communication strategy you have planned for, your contingency plan, it will ultimately fail if you haven't taken into consideration off-grid power. And that's what OH8STN off-grid ham radio is all about.
And I think that's how I found your channel way back, many years ago, was to check out. I think I was checking out battery packs, and you had excellent videos on that.
Thank you. So did you. You were doing the back in the day, the lithium 18650 batteries. That I was watching you build them.
I still do. I still use them.
Terrified. Yeah. I actually learned, about soldering them together and things like that from you, Gil. So, yeah.
Yeah, and soldering those batteries are a little bit risky because you can damage them with the heat. Yeah. So yeah, it's better to use, of course, a spot welder. Yeah. All right. So anyway,
sorry, I can't look into the camera, guys. I have my screen in front of me, and the camera is just here on the side. So hello, guys. But hey, Gil, if you can talk for a little bit, I'll share this live stream on my channel and socials as well.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I'll do the same. And yeah, so I picked a few radios that I thought were good portable radios. Some of them I have, some of them I don't. Some of them, at least one, I wish I had. Maybe a couple.
Which one?
I selected the Icom 7200, not the 7300, which is the most recent one, but the 7200
has excellent current consumption.
Right, and it also has very good filters for Morse code, CW mode. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know
CW,
that.
What's that?
One day you'll come around.
Oh, you're speaking to the choir, man. I just,
I mean, Morse code is a big pain to learn. That's for sure. It takes a lot of time. It's very frustrating. I mean, I surely understand that not everybody wants to take the time to do it. You have to have the time, first of all. Yeah. So it's very efficient, but of course it's not easy to do. It requires a lot of dedication to do that. But
you know what shot CW in the head for me? I couldn't receive a message when I wasn't at the radio.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Right.
Efficiency and things like that, I can't argue against it. That's my same argument with relying on voice communications. You
Yeah.
know, if you're not at the radio, you don't receive the message. Even if the radio can hear the message, you don't receive it.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was my argument also with the voice communications.
And that's why we use JS8 now.
Yeah. All right, I'm still sending out this.
All right, so yeah, so I selected some radios. Actually, I'm gonna check the page here where I show them. And okay, so it works. Here I have one. Let me see. Can I select the other ones? Is there a key to switch? Well, I don't know. All right, so I'm trying to find which key actually will select different images, but I should have checked that out before actually. It said the hotkeys, so I don't know what that would entail here, but maybe control and command key, no. Function key, no. Swift, shift. All right, so anyway. All right, main chat. So, and I'm going to share that stream as well because that's important if we want to have a little more people. So say hi in the the chat room, please. And we have a Scout75 who just said hi.
I can't see the chat yet, but I'll try to get there in a second.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I'm going to announce that on Facebook because, of course, we have a Radio Preppers Facebook group with about 23,000 members. So if I post that there, I'm expecting that we might get some people. And of course, it's the first time we do this in collaboration in a live stream, so we have to iron out the quirks. All right, so that's posted now. All right, so you let me know when you're ready, and we'll start taking those radio, pick them one by one.
I can talk and share at the same time. It's okay.
All right, multitasking. Excellent.
Yes. My wife says I'm horrible at that, but let's give it a shot.
All right, so, well, the first radio, well, actually, let's start by with a radio that you know well and that you picked, that I didn't pick.
Oh.
And yeah, and I'll tell you the reasons. Of course, that's the Icom 705.
Blasphemy! You didn't pick it?
No, I didn't pick it.
What are you, some sort of communist or something?
No politics on the channel.
What?
No politics on the channel.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, yeah, and you know, it's a great looking radio. I mean, I really like the fact that it's all included, like the battery sits in the radio actually, and it has everything. You know, I think it's VHF, UHF as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it has 6 meters, all modes. But you know what? I'll tell you why I didn't pick it, and it's.
Yeah. Don't be diplomatic, brother.
It's the giant color screen that just scares me. It scares me.
You know, I have this. I forget what it's called, and God forgive me for forgetting the name of the company. It's in all of my Icom IC-705 videos, so it has a cage. And the cage protects the body, and there's also a polycarbonate front panel that covers and protects the screen and the encoders, the dials.
Right.
While the radio is in motion, you know.
Right.
So you can throw it in your backpack without putting it in a box or anything like that. When you have this cage and this front panel cover.
Right.
Yeah. So if those did, I don't know, the 705 would be a deal breaker for me. If those two features didn't exist, not features, but
right.
Accessories.
Is it waterproof?
So I get it. Sorry?
Is it waterproof?
No, not at all.
Okay.
But I put mine in a bag, which basically weighs nothing.
Right.
And I just take it out of the dry bag when I'm going to operate.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, I might even reconsider. It's true that if you use some kind of protection, some kind of cage, that should definitely change things a bit. The same way for the KX2 actually, which we're going to talk about also, which, you know,
KX2, are
KX2,
they
yeah, Elecraft.
making that radio?
Right, and yeah, I sold it. I sold it like a dummy. I just can't
Wait,
believe I sold that
you
radio.
sold your KX2?
I know it's stupid. I don't know. I had a moment of, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I sold it, and well, we'll talk about it. But I
Yeah,
mean, I did put my KX2 in just in a Pelican case, you know,
yeah,
and of course that does protect it fairly well against
yeah,
shocks
but
and.
it's also extremely heavy.
Um, well, the Pelican case isn't. It is a very small one that I picked, you know. So there are
Yeah,
different sizes, and I picked the Pelican case that was just big enough for the radio, basically leaving everything else on the outside.
yeah.
So that was all right. So what have you done with the 705? Is it? I mean, how is it outside basically? Is it really a field radio, or is this just kind of pretty?
I would say a field radio. I mean, if we're talking about field radios, so the semantics, you know, the semantics matter. So, I mean, it's not a PRC
Hold on a sec. Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
In business. The browser with the collab page.
Are you still there, Gil?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear
Okay,
you.
great.
Yeah.
All right. So for the 705, if we're term PRC or field radio, we need to talk that radio. Of course, I don't hit the front screen.
Right.
Yeah, I take care about that front screen because I agree with you. It's a weak point, absolutely weak point. But anything else, I have a 705 and I have a tablet, and that's it. Nothing else. No crazy boxes and I use what do you call it? I'm missing the word in English. What the hell is it? Resonant antenna. I
Right.
use a resonant antenna like a dipole, or the off-center fed dipoles are actually my favorite. And right now, I'm testing a in-fed halfway from Chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
But the off-center fed dipole, these N9 SAB, and the Chameleon in-fed halfway, the small one, it's the 4010 lifts
Uh-huh.
with the 705.
They don't send me any antennas anymore because I did criticize one of them.
Oh,
So
well, I mean, I've criticized their antennas before, but I also it's from both sides. You know, I tell what I like about it, and I tell how they can
yeah,
make it better.
yeah, certainly. I mean, I really like the antennas. I've showed a lot of them. I've used and continue using a lot of them.
Yeah.
The last one I haven't seen. I'm surprised though that you like the off-center fed dipole because I made one once, and I had a lot of problems with common mode currents. It was just
Use a choke.
it was just, well, yeah, you can use a choke, but it was problematic, and it did cause a lot of problems. Like when I changed the length of the coax, of course, it did change the SWR a great, a lot, and of course that means common mode current, and so it worked fine. Performance was good, but it's just that those common mode currents really bugged me, and often when you use a radio in CW, a radio that has a keyer, for some reason the keyer chips really don't like those currents, and they'll do a dash instead of a dot, or and it's just basically you're sending stuff that is not what. That's why I didn't I didn't use I didn't keep using enough center fed dipole for that reason, basically.
Yeah, I use the ones from November 9 Sierra Alpha Bravo, and I've only once had common mode common mode current problem, and it was my actually with this new Surface tablet that I have, when I plug in the antenna when using an external amplifier. Sometimes I use an amplifier, and when that amplifier was connected.
Then you had
Everything would
problems.
shut down and reboot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and I was like, "What the heck?" And
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't use that particular off-center fed anymore. I use the 80-meter off-center fed, the 40-meter off-center fed, and that's basically it. Because usually I'm either on 80-40-20 or 40-20.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, yeah, same thing for me. I rarely, if at all, operate above 20 meters.
Yeah.
It's just not reliable.
Sometimes.
Right. I mean, it's fun, but
it's fun.
Right, but you can't really rely on anything above 20 meters to be reliably, communicate reliably, consistently over long distances.
Well, a good antenna, not good is the wrong word, but a resonant antenna for the bands that you're operating on, and especially if you're doing data modes. The filtering in the 705, being able to move the filter instead of moving the frequency, you just move the frequency within you shift the filter within the frequency that you're actually on. That's huge for data communications rather than trying to fiddle around with the dial.
Right, yeah.
Having the audio interface built in so you don't have any cables outside the radio.
That sounds pretty good, yeah, actually, yeah.
So there's only one cable if you choose to use it. You also have a GPS built in, so you don't need an external GPS to sync your time for JS8 call.
Oh, okay.
Or for FT8 if that's your thing. I use FT8 sometimes for antenna testing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many things. The screen, though, the point about the screen is that it's the biggest benefit and also the biggest risk.
Right. Is it a touch screen or not?
It's a touch screen.
Oh, okay.
And I'm looking at it here and I'm smiling because I was waiting for Yaesu for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years to pull their heads out and do something, not much, but just a little bit more with the 817, 818.
Right.
Like adding the audio interface and including better filtering.
But now you're telling me they have.
Huh?
No,
I haven't read about that radio yet.
Oh, the new one there. Okay.
The new one, I forget what it's called. It's so new that I haven't even memorized the model yet.
I haven't seen it at all, so I have no idea.
I sent you to your Telegram. I just sent you a picture.
Oh, okay. I'll check that out, yeah.
Hold on a moment. I'm gonna send this.
Oh yeah, I saw that photo, and I thought it was a VHF UHF only, but is it an HF as well?
No, HF, VHF, UHF with
Oh,
two
okay.
independent RF decks, so that you can, like the old FT-8, not 897. What was it? 8.
Okay,
Gosh,
so
I'm getting old,
HF 50 mega
HF, VHF, UHF, and you
and
can
6 meters.
operate
Yeah.
VHF, UHF, or HF simultaneously.
Now that you're telling me that, I saw the photo. I thought it was VHF UHF only, but apparently not.
Yeah, I forget the radio that they had. They used to have a satellite radio that was absolutely amazing, but like every other Yaesu radio, it had too much current consumption.
Right.
But we should do another live stream on that particular radio sometimes after I do some research.
Right. I'll look into it as well. Yeah. All right. So the 705.
Crap on it now.
Right.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the 705 gets the thumbs up. I mean, you're telling me a lot of stuff that might change my mind about the 705 actually, except for the screen. But it's definitely more interesting than I thought first.
Well, hold on, because I don't want to sound like a fanboy. There's two things that annoy me to no end about the 705. The first one is the GPS is only available. So you pipe the NMEA sentences from your GPS into your computer so that it can sync the time. You can only do that over a wired connection. You can't get a virtual COM port from the 705, because you can operate the 705 wirelessly as well. No wires at all between the laptop and... But the GPS is only with the wired connection.
So is it Bluetooth or Wi-Fi when you wireless?
The GP... Oh, sorry. You can use Bluetooth for the microphone or to listen to your headphones.
Nice.
You use a Wi-Fi as a CAT control interface for the radio.
Okay.
Between your laptop and your radio. But the GPS is only with the USB cable. That's just a huge fail.
Oh,
okay. It's a stupid what's the word? I have forgotten to think about.
I'm drawing a blank too, but we can't talk anymore.
The other thing is probably insignificant. Let's leave it at that one thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So that's I mean, it's definitely a portable radio, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
So today, if you want a all mode, all bands radio, I mean, your wallet's gonna suffer anyway.
Your audio, Gil.
Okay. All right. That's
I hear you again now.
All right. So, So next radio, I'm going to pick. Well, I had a list, but I'm going to pick a radio that let me see. Well, that I did have, and we mentioned it. That's the Elecraft KX2.
Yep.
All right. So the KX2. I've had a lot of Elecraft radios. I mean, I started with the K1, and that's one of my picks also. I started with the K1. I built it. I built a K2. Then I bought a KX3, which I sold. And every time I sell a radio, I regret it, but especially Elecraft.
Yeah.
Then when I came back to France, I bought the KX2. And I sold that, and I shouldn't have either. But the reason that I sold the KX, and of course the KX2 is anything you buy from Elecraft are CW Morse code machines basically.
Yep.
They're more geared towards people who use Morse code, and that's just
geared towards people who use Morse code.
Well, almost, yeah, because of course you mentioned when I rewatched your video that you made on it, and you mentioned that it wasn't sold with a microphone. And of course, for someone who's used to buy regular radios, you always have a microphone in the box. I mean, that's just the basic, And the KX2 doesn't, and that's really that tells you something, you know. And it's not really it's kind of a, usually most radios they have a CW mode as an afterthought, and Elecraft has SSB modes, voice modes as an afterthought. You know, it's kind of the, maybe it changed now, but
and data modes as well as an afterthought.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And they're more for people who like me, who like CW a lot, and so the performance for CW is just out of this world. I mean, the filtering is just basically the receiver is very sensitive. It doesn't get, for me it doesn't get any better. But the problem that I had with it for portable operation is that radio is full of holes for the buttons. It's just
I'm
basically
glad you said it.
that case is Swiss cheese. And
So I can ask the same question to you about, as you asked for the 705, is it a field radio?
I'm on the fence about that, because it's a good weather field radio. It's a no rain field radio, and I mean, and again, a field radio. I'll tell you a story. Once I was camping in the woods with a bunch of friends, and I had brought two radios. I brought a Weber MTR, which is a little tiny, CW radio. It had, I think, 3 bands. And so I had that, but it's the same construction as the KX2. You have a metal case with holes for the buttons. And then I had a military radio, the PRC 320. And then I found myself in the evening, we were all around the campfire, and I thought, I'll just string a wire in a tree and operate radio. And I plugged in my MTR because it's much lighter, it's much smaller, it's fits in the palm of your hand. And the problem is that I found myself with a bunch of people around me. It was kind of a rainy evening. It was kind of raining. It was like a drizzle, and it was muddy, and people were walking around in wearing boots, and it was just, there was a lot of stuff going on. And I'm like, if that radio hits the ground, it's dead,
Your PRC 320?
No, the MTR.
Oh, okay.
The MTR, and that's I was really I was like, geez, this is not an environment for even for radio. But then I got out my PRC 320, and I mean, you can step on it, you can roll over with your truck, you can do anything, you can submerge it, that radio nothing's going to happen to it. And being around a group of people, when you're alone, you control the environment.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to step on your radio, basically,
No.
but yourself if you don't pay attention. And that's when you really realize that it's, what's a field radio? It depends. I guess it depends on the environment.
That's the only right answer. It depends.
And so is it a field radio? Sure. I mean, yeah, you can use it for SOTA. You can use it for summits on the air. You can use it for to go camping. You can, but you have to have some control over the environment, meaning other people around you. And if it's raining, you must have your Pelican case right there. You must have something to protect it from the rain. You have to take that into consideration.
You've seen, sometime I set up my blog, and sometimes I take people with me, but I usually set up the station in the tent. And I never allow anyone to go inside the tent when my station is set up there, because people don't understand the risks. They're going to kick the antenna cable and rip it out of the connector, and of course I have spares and things like that. But controlling the environment, that's an excellent way to say it, Gil. Because people don't take care about your station as you do, or I would. So I have to keep these people. Like my tent is, it's like a sacred place where you can't go unless you.
Right.
You know what I mean.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. And the tent has to be big enough, of course, to set up all that. My tent, I have a 1-person tent, and it's really. I'm gonna have to get something else just to do radio, because I just don't have the space inside. I can barely fit anything in there. I mean, just I barely fit in it, so it's not a good. It's and that's why and that's why going like we do. I mean, you do it more often than I do, but going into the field to test stuff uncovers a lot of things that you wouldn't think about, before actually trying it. And that's the importance of actually getting out there, is to figure out especially what doesn't work, because a lot of things you think will work, it's going to be a problem. So
from Elecraft, actually, the KX3 is my favorite radio. That's the one that I absolutely love.
Yeah, I like mine a lot too. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you have a KX3.
Yeah, I had a KX3 as well. Yeah, in the US, when I used to live in Florida, I had a KX3, and but I didn't really take advantage of it, so to speak, because I didn't really try 6 meters back then, and I didn't try 160. I haven't tried 160 actually yet.
Really?
Not yet. I've never made a contact on 160. Actually, I've never made a contact on 10 meters either.
I made a contact on 160 with FT-8.
Okay.
I'll tell you a quick funny story. This infed half wave I told you about from Chameleon. So actually, it's here on the camper. I'm using it now with the 705.
Oh, you're in the camper there.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the camper.
Cool.
Hold on. Hopefully I don't pull out the... can you see that?
Yeah.
I'm
okay, great. Yeah, cool.
Camper.
That's very nice, yeah.
Yeah, so I was using the Rig Expert to analyze the antenna and where it can work and where it won't. And I noticed when I ran the scan, it said, hey, it's resonant on 160. And I was like, what fraction of a wavelength is it resonant on 160? It can't be very efficient, but the Rig Expert was adamant about you can use this on 160. And I said, okay, let's call out Chameleon on this one. Chameleon doesn't say that it's resonant on 160, but the Rig Expert did.
Right.
So I set up FT-8 on 160, and I got an NVIS contact to a station in Sweden, about 115 clicks north of me, just across the border.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And I was astonished, and I thought to myself, well, I would never use this for anything practical on 160, but just knowing that I have the ability to deploy it for NVIS if I have to.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. So just funny story. I wouldn't have believed.
Yeah. I have to try that. I have to try 160. I didn't even use 80 meters before, because of. I thought, and I thought, such a large antenna is going to be a problem. But in fact, if you're portable, and you're in nature somewhere out in the boonies, it doesn't matter, You can have an antenna as long as you want, pretty much,
With 160 or 80 meters, I'll actually just string it through the trees, not even a couple of meters above the ground.
That's what I do, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't...
yeah, for NVIS, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for NVIS, that's right. That's exactly the point.
Yeah,
So
and for those who don't know, NVIS is near vertical incidence skywave, when you send your signal straight up and it refracts at a high angle back down to Earth, and so you can actually cover a regional pattern, which is not always easy to do. Actually, it's much easier to go a long distance than regional.
Absolutely.
All right, so KX2, I give it a thumbs up, but under certain conditions, like controlled conditions, you have to be careful, especially, and of course the KX2, highly recommended for people who want to do Morse code in a CW mode.
Yeah. Hey, just to be fair to the KX2, because I'm not a hater,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's incredibly lightweight. It's incredibly small.
It is.
So if you're doing voice or CW, you're okay. The second you start to do data modes, you have to add an external audio interface and cabling and things like that. So it becomes a bit complicated.
Yeah.
But otherwise, for Morse code and voice, if you want the lightest weight station you possibly can. Actually, I don't know how much the KX2 weighs versus the, for example, the Xiegu X6100 or even this new one, X6200. But that's a question to answer another
Yeah, it's and I actually tried the 6100 a couple of weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, but briefly. It was a French radio, and yeah, it was pretty light. I remember, but I don't quite remember compared to the KX2. It's probably not much of a difference, I think. But the KX2 might be a little bit lighter, just a tiny bit
Probably.
lighter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that people always say about it. The SOTA guys are always saying it's so light.
Yeah. For that, definitely. I mean, if you have to carry it, and that's one thing about portable. I mean, I always differentiate between portable and transportable, which
Yeah, that's true.
transportable is something you're going to transport in your truck. Portable is something that you can put in a backpack,
Yeah.
sort of.
That's why I always call it man portable. So
Right.
if
Yeah.
a man can carry it with all the other equipment, the tent, the food, the water, everything we need, so then it's man portable.
Yeah. Good
And
point.
if it's just portable, I can put it in my car and take it with me.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. All right. So I'm looking at the chat now, and we have some more people here on the chat. We have so I did mention 75. We have Eric Klaas Wyman, I'm not sure, OZ1DTF. We have Pat Gubben, probably not pronouncing that right. I'm going to say this. Oh, another OH1 BKY.
Yep.
And oh, he says no sound. A bit bizarre. Yes, now you are there. Okay, all right. So that's good. We have KD2GIY. And we have OH7T. Another OH?
That man, he's a good guy.
Oh, you know him. Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
And someone says, have you checked out SBitX? I don't know about SBitX.
Yes.
Is that a portable
I even
radio?
have a video on it. It's a tiny portable radio, but
Okay.
I've recently changed my opinion about it.
From good to bad,
Excellent.
or from bad to good?
Mm,
In the negative sense or in the positive sense?
in the negative sense.
Okay.
But it's unfair. I had to spend a minute to talk about it.
Sure.
So it's a
Oh, that's in my
Anyway.
list. That's in my list, so we're going to talk about
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Excellent. So it's small. It's pretty easy to use, and it has a one-wire interface. But it's, again, one of these radios that's designed by a Morse code operator who doesn't really care about people who use it for voice or for data. And for me, the data is important.
Right.
If they would do exactly the same radio with a built-in audio interface so that I don't have to plug in all of these wires, I would just be tickled pink, you know?
Right.
I'd be really happy, and that's my only criticism about the video. It's also my criticism about the KX2.
Right.
These things are an afterthought, but data communication, especially, I think FT8 has been #1 on PSK Reporter for years already.
Right.
So why don't we get better radios with audio interfaces?
I think that manufacturers are kind of a little bit late. Just that they haven't caught up yet, you know. I mean, that's probably like why don't we have a radio with a built-in computer in the same box, like a tablet with HF in it, you know? I mean, that would be.
I agree.
That would be excellent. I'd buy one right away.
Yeah.
But it's not something that, of course, it's not. You can't sell millions of them. You know, it's going to be just to ham radio
but I'd pay
people.
double the price of a 705 if they would make one. I would happily pay.
Right. Yeah. And that might come later. I mean, hopefully, I hope we're going to see that type of radio at some point. But all right. So yeah, we also have on chat. We also have a crazy Chekhov. Hello.
Yeah.
Who's Russian?
Oh, I have now the chat in front of me.
From Alabama.
Hopefully you don't hear an echo.
Yeah,
From
yeah.
Alabama.
Alabama and.
Only two things come from Alabama, boy.
Oh yeah. What's that?
Excellent barbecue.
Right. I thought it was Texas.
And the other
I don't
one I
want
can't
to. I don't
say,
want to start a.
No, Alabama's a great place, man.
I've been through quickly. I mean, fortunately, I didn't have much time to visit. But all right, we have John North who says G90 for the win. Well, that's in both our lists, so we're going to talk about it. And yeah.
G90 is an epic radio.
Yeah, yeah. So let me see. How many people do we have now? Come on, guys, share the video. Share the video.
Yeah, please share the video, guys.
All right, so we can, okay, so let's go to the next radio. And well, I just mentioned the G90, so let's talk about the G90. So I have a G90 right here, which I just had a problem with, actually. Maybe you can tell me how to fix that. So G90, Xiegu, Chinese made.
Yep.
And do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it?
No, go ahead.
I mean, okay. So I'll give my opinion of it first.
Yeah.
It's a great radio in the sense that it has 20 watts. It's not 5 or 10 watts like most radios. Although I don't attach much importance to power output. I think power output is overrated. But 20 watts is nice, especially for voice modes. It works well in CW, standing Morse code. So no problem with the keyer or anything like that. It does perform well in Morse code. So that's excellent. It has good filters.
It also has a built-in tuner.
Built-in tuner, I was going to mention that. And it works really well, except mine doesn't work right now, but I'll talk about that at the end. And the only thing and it's a little bit heavy. It's not a light radio. I mean, it's really dense. There's a lot of stuff in that case, but it has a lot of features also. So the menus are a little bit of a pain to use, but I mean, if you use the radio often, you're going to get used to them. But if like me, you use it once in a while, I have to check out the manual every time. It operates from I think it goes down to 160 actually, 160 to 10 meters, if I'm not mistaken. 6 meters would have been a nice bonus, but it doesn't have it. But I like it because the current consumption is not too bad. I mean, it's like 500 milliamps on receive. Yeah. That's a bit high for me, but compared to other radios, it's not that bad. And I use a pack of LivePO4 batteries with it. So I mean, now we have battery chemistries that are much lighter and have high capacity. So we can and go
more density.
Yeah, exactly. So we can actually take advantage of that, and we don't have to just rely on 18650s or AA batteries. So I like it. I think it's a good radio. The screen is a little bit, it's very low definition. So, I mean, but who cares? But it's small. I like that. I like the fact that it's small. And I mean, again, the tuner will tune a wet noodle, so I really like the performance. The only problem that I had with it, and I think it might be related to the firmware upgrade that I did to the latest firmware. Anyway, what happened?
You never upgrade the firmware in the G90.
Yeah, and well, I might go back to the old one because, and I'm not sure if that's the problem, but the problem that I have now is that when I tune the radio, the tuner seems to search for a long time, and it sets on a setting, and then I get a very high SWR, and the power is reduced, of course, to save the calls, and basically the radio isn't tuned properly. The only way that I can
go back to the previous firmware.
Yeah, I think so. The only way that I can make it work is use a resonant antenna and not use the tuner. And then I get the full power output because it doesn't go through the tuner. So I'm not sure if it's a firmware problem or if I have maybe a relay that doesn't work anymore or anything like that. I'm gonna have to look into
I've read this same. I've read this in the forum, the G90 forum. I've left that forum a couple of months ago, but it was already last year when I read that symptom that you're describing, and it was after a firmware update. And,
Right. I'm going to check that out because I think that's probably what it is, and I just have to go back to the old firmware.
Yeah.
But it's a pain. It's a pain to upgrade the firmware on that radio.
I think the G90 is what Yaesu should have come up with.
Okay.
Something like that. The G90 filled that 897 gap. Okay, it's missing 2 meters and 70 centimeters, 6 meters. So VHF and UHF, it's missing, but the concept is magnificent. The only problem I have with the G90, as I have with every Xiegu radio, is we shouldn't start putting them on YouTube the week or the month or even the half year after they come out. Xiegu is notorious for terrible firmware. And I'm not crapping on the radio, so let me finish it. Xiegu is notorious for extremely bad firmware when the radio is released.
Yep.
They usually get it right about a year or year and a half, after the radio has been released. The firmware gets solid and reliable. That's the only downside. Now, the G90, 20 watts. I love the filters in the G90 as well.
Yeah.
Excellent filters. You don't have to add anything. The only thing that radio is missing is, and again, I'm a data guy, the only thing that radio is missing is an internal audio interface. I don't want any of this plug-in garbage that you have to plug into the back of the radio and then a cat control cable on the side of the radio. None of that garbage. The only thing it's missing is the audio interface.
I had to solder a cable for it, and it's just a pain in the butt,
It's a pain in the butt, yeah. Even with that said, the G90 is my favorite radio, like desktop radio. Let's say it like that. It's got 20 watts. The microphone isn't so good. You have to do something else with the microphone.
I disassembled the microphone and I took a drill and I opened up the microphone hole in the case.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So I think the G90 is a great radio because no one else is offering us something like that at the moment.
True.
It's like, I think it's under $600, even under 600 euros.
Yeah.
If I don't know, the euro and the dollar are kind of, suffering at the moment, but I think the price is reasonable, especially compared to like a 705 or actually, I'm wondering what is the price difference between an 891 and a G90. Because those are comparable radios. The 891, of course, has 6 meters, which I'm a 6 meter fanatic. But anyway, I'm just rambling now. The G90 is a great radio if you know what you're getting into.
It is,
to solve the issues. Yeah.
I wonder about reliability. I mean, of course, I've had that problem here, so that's why I'm, but I had the G1M, which is the QRP version of that, so to speak, and I had to resolder all the jacks because they're surface mount components, surface mounted jacks, and I had to. There was practically no solder on the jacks inside the case, and of course you would plug in your headphones or anything like that, or Morse key, and boom, the jack would unsolder from the circuit board. And a lot of people had that problem. Not on the G90 though, so maybe they so far so good. But I'm always concerned about quality control on Chinese radios, and I mean
I agree.
And I do buy Chinese radios, of course. I know I bought the G90. I think I bought it from Radiodity, and they gave me a good discount. But I mean, I don't regret buying it. I wish it worked. I mean, the tuner, I'm gonna have to, and of course, it's probably something that can be fixed, firmware or whatever.
I can almost assure you, it's that firmware.
Yeah.
Everyone
Because
who's always asked questions about it, I always try to tell them, you know, if it's working for you and it has the functionality you require, don't update the firmware. Never update the
Yeah,
Xiegu firmware
exactly.
until
Exactly.
someone else has tested it.
And you know, I didn't think about it until a subscriber mentioned it in a comment. And he's like, go back to the old firmware. And I'm like, oh, firmware. Did I change the firmware at that time? And I wasn't sure. And I'm like, yeah, I did change the firmware. Was that at the same time that I had the problem? And I didn't think about it at, you know, at the time. But then
Yeah.
I'm thinking that the timing is kind of right, you know. So I'm
Yeah.
like, it's probably that.
Yeah, that's their weakest link, the firmware.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
the
go
radio
back. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, please try it before opening it and messing around. You
Yeah,
know, because
absolutely.
my G90 is incredibly reliable.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I've had it for almost 4 years now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've had mine for, probably a couple. And, yeah, so far, well, I just have to do that. But it's just, I haven't done it yet because it's such a no
But you know
problem.
what? There's a lot of radios that you can't actually update the firmware.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, kudos to Xiegu for giving us a radio that
Yeah.
you can.
And of course, yeah, I mean, they have to get it right the first time, which is not always possible. But all right.
Might I
So
tell you?
Hmm?
Can I just finish up with the G90?
Sure.
One of the things I think it's missing, other than okay, we can always connect up a DigiRig audio interface, but for field radio, I wish they would make a battery box that snaps or somehow attaches to the box of the enclosure of the radio,
Right.
so that we can put a charge controller and some lithium iron phosphate batteries inside. You
That'd
know,
be nice.
that would be really nice.
Yeah.
Because I mean, or even just a box, like a ammo can type box where the G90 slides in, and then there's a battery and a charge controller, and you can carry it like an ammo can.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That would
I've
be
seen
brilliant
people
for the
use
G90.
I've seen people use small bags like messenger bags and stuff like that. For that purpose, and that seems to work well. So maybe I'll get when I fixed mine, I'll get something like that. You know, that makes it more transportable, carryingable.
Yeah. What's next, Gil?
All right.
I'll
So
try
the
to read
next
the
one.
comments here.
All right. So we'll get back to Xiegu later because we have another Xiegu on the list. But and it's too bad I didn't. You know what? I'll talk a little bit briefly on the Elecraft K1. Because again, Elecraft. Well, first the K1. I have a long history with the K1 because it was one of the first radios that I built, and actually I built an Elecraft K1 before I had my license.
Yeah.
So and the reason for the story, the reason I went into amateur radio was to do Morse code. It was the reason. So I first built a Weber DCS DC20, I think it was. Yeah, Weber DC20, little tiny radios in Altoids case, you know. And then I thought, well, that's pretty cool, and I bought a K1 kit. So I spent like $400 at the time on an Elecraft K1 kit, which I put together. Fortunately, worked the first time out.
What are the bands and things the K1 covers? I'm not familiar with that radio.
All right. So first people have to know that the K1 is no longer manufactured or sold. So yeah, you have to find a used one. I was lucky enough to. I'm on my third one basically, but it's two or four bands. So you have a module that has 2 bands on it. You can choose which one. It starts at 15 meters, so 15, 20, 30, 40, and 80 meters. I think some people have modified boards to go 160, but it's not. I don't think it's a standard band. Then you had either 2 bands or 4 bands, and built-in tuner, fully analog, except for there's a microprocessor, but it's for controlling the radio, the keyer and stuff like that. The display, which is a 3-digit LCD, and it's an awesome receiver. I mean, I built that radio. I didn't even have my license yet. So when I built it and it worked, I was like, geez, okay, now I have to get the license. And I did my first QSO as a ham with the K1 I built, and it was from Florida to France, actually, no kidding. So that was pretty cool. It was like 5 watts, you know, with I think it was an unfed half wave that I had. So it was at the top of a solar cycle, by the way. But so it has, the K1 has a kind of an emotional, I have somewhat of an emotional attachment to it. Yeah. Now I sold that K1, too bad, because it was a 4-band K1. Then a few years later I bought a second one, which I lost. I didn't sell it, I lost it. And then here back in France, I actually found a guy who had an unbuilt kit, which is like impossible to find these days. Yeah. But of course, having a YouTube channel, I said I wanted to get a new K1, and someone had one, you know. Never built it, just left it in a box, you know, and so was willing to sell it to me. And I built my third K1, which now is never gonna sell that. I could be a bum in the street, I would not sell that K1. It doesn't matter. But it's all analog, so it has an excellent receiver. It doesn't have a DDS, no digital oscillator. It's all analog, and the sound is just so pure in that radio. I mean, you can listen to it for hours. You're not gonna get tired, you know, as opposed to a digital receiver radio. And it's just the receiver is extremely sensitive. So for weak signals, you can go very, very far. You can decode very weak signals. Of course, it's only CW, nothing else. You can't do digital. You can do voice. You can do, that's it. It's CW, period. You know, and it has a built-in tuner, which is excellent. And
very passionate about this radio. Yeah, you can see it in your face.
Yeah, and the I know the current consumption is 50 milliamps, 50.
Oh.
On receive. Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's the summum of portable radios, but it has the same problem that the KX2 has, or other radios of that type, is that the case is has holes for the buttons, and so. Of course, you have the speaker grill because it has a speaker. It has the speaker grill on top of the radio, so if it's raining, forget it. You can't use that radio when it's raining, when the weather is too bad, you know. And it's kind of it's not rugged, I will say. It's just pure performance, basically, for me, you know. But so again, is it a portable radio? Yes.
Yes, it's portable. Is it a field radio? I'm thinking.
Right. That's a little bit different. Yeah. So again, under a controlled environment, you know, Pelican case, which I have for it, and you know, a fair weather radio basically. But performance-wise, if you're passionate about Morse code using CW mode. It's a classic, and good luck finding one. Because people don't sell those, you know. But otherwise, I put it on the list because, of course, it's my favorite radio, and it is a portable radio, so it had to be in my list.
The way that you talk about that radio is. And
right.
I don't think many people know this, but I have taken the 817 with me on motorcycle trips from Sicily to Nordkap, and while working in North Africa and everywhere I've been around the world, I've had the 817 with me.
Yeah. Well, we can roll over right to the. I mean, you didn't have a K1, so but we can just roll over to the Yaesu. So the 817 something family, 817,
81X, yeah.
817 ND, 818, no longer manufactured for, you know, since a few months ago, or a year ago?
Yeah, less than a year ago, I think. Or was it even last summer?
Right.
They discontinued it, yeah. I have a, sorry, I'm starting to get nervous because I don't want to tick off the Italian out there, but I have a love-hate relationship with the 817, and I always have. I loved the 817 because, again, dipole, external battery, or even the AA batteries internally, and it was in the top box of my radio or in my backpack or in my briefcase with my laptop, traveling all over the place. But it never changed. It never evolved. And I knew that it was possible for it to evolve because we've seen the 897 and we've seen also my Yaesu VX1210. It's not Yaesu. Well, it is Yaesu, but Vertex standard VX1210. So I was waiting and waiting and waiting for like 15 years for Yaesu to upgrade it. And they basically never did.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing radio. If you wanted to be portable and you wanted to have all mode, all band capability, in terms of amateur radio, all mode, all band capability, there was nothing else on the market, not even the KX3. The KX3 is a better radio, but it didn't have the features and functionality that, or let's say the band range, frequency range that the 817 had.
Sure.
But the 817 was a bare bones radio. But if you were a hardcore operator and you knew what you were doing, you knew how to cut a dipole for whatever frequency you wanted to work on, you were good to go. And I think Yaesu should simply have upgraded the filters, the battery, I mean, at least the charging. I mean, come on, I'm not going to wait 16 hours for, a couple of batteries to top up. And add the audio interface. That's it. You know, they could have given that. I know why they discontinued it, the parts availability and all of that nonsense. But they could have given it another 5 years of life because that radio is a cult classic. And you know what? I still have mine.
And
I
should have bought one. Really, I should have bought one. And maybe someday I will.
I think that Yaesu could have done incredible things with the knowledge that they have from Vertex Standard and what they've built there, plus what they've done with some of the newer radios like the 891 and this FT-818, I think it's called. I mean, they have a lot of knowledge, but they don't apply it to the portable ham radio.
Too small a market, probably, yeah.
Too small.
Too small a market, yeah, for them. I mean, I would think that commercial radios is a bigger market than amateur radio. I mean, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, that's sure. That's for sure.
So who knows? But definitely, I mean, they did upgrade the final transistors. I think because the 817 had some fragile, fragile output transistors, and I think they modified that with the ND, made it a little bit more resilient on that front. And I'm not sure what they did with the 818 compared to the ND.
They changed the letters on the enclosure.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, I don't even know if there's a difference between the 817 ND and the 818, except the number. Well,
couldn't tell you.
But what I really like about it, and the reason why I should have bought one, and I still might, is that of course you get VHF and UHF, but more importantly, you get UHF and VHF that you can use with SSB and CW as well. For CW you have to buy an extra filter, but oh well. But I mean, CW, I don't think people use SSB, CW enough of VHF and UHF. I think it's a great way to communicate without repeaters in a regional pattern. You just get more bang for your buck, basically. I mean, you extend your range quite significantly using SSB on VHF or UHF, and I don't know why people don't use it more. I'm not sure. Do people use actually digital modes on VHF and UHF?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, quite a bit, or is it more like?
Well,
Is it more of an kind of an experiment kind of thing,
It's
or
a
is it?
niche thing.
It's a little bit, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a niche.
right. But I mean, that's the reason why I would get an 818 now or 817 a used one, because
Yeah.
for VHF and UHF, of course, the thing is that you can't use VHF and UHF at the same time that you use HF.
Not on that radio.
But
Yeah.
right, sure. But I mean, most other VHF UHF radios only have FM. That's a bit lacking, you know.
Yeah, and no matter how much we talk about it, I've heard you talking about bandwidth also. So FM is extremely inefficient.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you want to talk to the neighbor on the next block, it's okay. But I don't care if you have 5 watts or 10 watts in your VHF or UHF radio transmitting on FM. It's never going to be efficient.
Yeah, because you spread it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it's like a shotgun blast without the choke. You know.
I always tell people not to think about output power as a level, but more as a volume.
Yeah.
And that volume can change. It can narrow. It can. I mean, the shape can change, and it's of course FM is so wide that you're spreading that power all over.
I think the FM, a good analogy, or one of the analogies I like to use, is that it's the difference between a laser beam and
a flashlight. Yeah.
Okay,
pretty much. Yeah, that's what I say for CW. You know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But the 817, even with, you know, okay, when it came out, I had one of the first ones. I bought it when I was working in Switzerland. And I can tell you, I had an SSB QSO with it on 6 meters with the antenna that comes with it while walking my dog.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was, I mean, so even though I'm tough on the radios, I still acknowledge, you know, what they brought to the community.
Yeah.
Sorry. And that radio just changed everything, because I could take ham radio along with me trips or on my motorcycle tours, you know, and the 817 did that. Nobody else was doing that.
Absolutely.
You know, everything else was bigger and heavier and more complicated. And, you know, of course, we can always complain about menu structures and things like that. But I mean,
right.
The basic radio on its own was pretty amazing back in the day.
Yeah,
compared
and it's
to the 705.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
it's a different discussion.
It's a different generation, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, definitely, and I still might get one, a used one someday, because it's really it's tiny. I mean, it's small. I was really surprised, and I mean, it's almost as small as the Minion SDR that I had, and I didn't put that on my list. I mean, it's a different radio. The Minion SDR is HF only, of course, and 160 to 10 meters. It's a little bit like the G90, but much smaller. Basically, it fits in your jeans pocket, you know, which is crazy.
How much power does it have?
10 watts. But
what's the name of this? Tell me this radio again.
Minion, M-I-N.
Oh, yes.
The Minion.
This is the one you had to send back to, was it Ukraine?
Right, to Ukraine, yes.
I remember your video, yeah.
Yeah, because it took some salt water, splashed some salt water on my boat on it, and it did go into the front face and messed up with buttons and stuff, the oxidation. But that radio had the only reason that I sold it was that it had 2 problems. One problem was that it was extremely sensitive to common mode currents, and your modulation would be crap, like, I mean, you wouldn't even know it. And also, the keyer for CW was just messing up. I mean, it was just basically, with the antennas that I tested it with, which is quite a few, it was basically without an RF choke was unusable. You couldn't use it. I mean, it was just not possible.
Not even with a dipole.
You know what? I'm not even sure. Did I try it with a dipole? I tried it with an unfed half-wave, if I remember, and some other antennas. Definitely unfed antennas were no for that radio. I suspect dipole would have, I can't remember if I tried with the dipole, but it probably would have worked much better. But if you used an RF choke, then it was okay. But then of course you kind of, you lose the advantage of the small size, because of course you have to put an RF choke on top of it, and you have to carry that. But I mean, it wasn't a big problem. That in itself would not have been a big problem, too much of a problem for me, because again, you put an RF choke and you're good to go. But the problem was that the keyer for CW didn't work properly. It was very hard to send good code with that radio. Now, had I bought it for SSB contacts only, yeah, sure, okay, it would have been fine. But because of those two problems, I sold it, and that's why I didn't put it on the list. I mean, definitely an FT-818 wouldn't have those problems, and it doesn't, and that would. It's almost as small, not quite, but, and it does everything, and that's the good thing about it.
There's 27 people in the chat. That's very nice.
I was hoping for a bunch more. People are not probably not sharing the video, so they had. But
I think that next time we have to figure out how to schedule the live stream.
Yes, preview, yeah.
Schedule the live stream so that it's up, many days before we actually do it. Right.
Because we do plan on making more live streams like this, so. It's a lot of fun. I like it. I like chatting with you on subjects like that, so.
Yeah. I don't usually put myself out there like this. I like to be, the voice.
I know, and I suggested that you should do it more often.
Yeah.
All right, so.
I'm kind of a jerk that way. Yeah.
All right, so let's move to the next one. So we did the K1 KX2. Did the 705 G90. Well, let's go quickly on the another Xiegu, the 6100.
Yeah.
And that's KX2 or KX3 maybe. So Xiegu 6100. I wish I had one to test. I don't. A friend of mine bought one. He's pretty happy about it. He likes it. It also has a good, a large color screen.
Mm-hmm.
And
not a touch screen though.
Oh, not a touch screen. Okay.
No.
I kind of see it like another version of the G90 somehow. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like a little bit less power G90 with a nice color screen. Is that how you would see it?
It's better than a G90.
It's better than G90, like RF performance-wise, or
performance and the user interface. The user interface is just God mode compared to the G90.
Okay,
well, I have one.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The user interface is
simpler.
I don't want it. It's simple. I don't want to say it's easy, but it's simple, and I've never read the user manual, and it was easy enough to get started using it, and you don't have to download any drivers or anything like that. It's just a workhorse.
Okay.
And of course, it had its own firmware problems in the beginning, but there's a Russian guy who was making custom firmwares for it, which was epic. I didn't even know that was possible until I saw one of his videos. Wow. So it's possible to load in custom firmwares, and you could run, for example, FT8 directly on the radio, things like that. It's very innovative. So I haven't seen the 6200 yet. I'm probably going to buy one. And
yeah, I haven't seen it either. So if you could only pick one radio between the G90 and the 6100, which one would you pick and why?
Am I man portable or car portable?
I'd say man portable.
6100.
Right.
No doubt.
Okay. The batteries the batteries are inside the case, right?
Yep, the battery is inside the case. It's not a wide voltage input. I think it's 9 to 16 volts to charge it up. I might be wrong. It might be 12 to 16 volts, but in any event, the battery is inside. Charge controller or charging circuit, sorry, not charge controller, charging circuit is built in.
Nice.
Audio interface is built in. Color screen tuner is built in, and it's a little bit bigger than I don't know, not even like half a cigar box or something like that. It's smaller than the 705,
Right.
but it doesn't have all of the, what do you call it when you
All the,
fine details, the detail work of the,
I see.
you know, so it would be more, I would say it's closer to the 705 without VHF, UHF than the G90.
Right, right. And cheaper.
And cheaper. It's a brilliant radio.
Interesting.
I think I have a video using that radio from my patio to speak to one of these youth on the air expeditions from, was it Netherlands or Belgium? I don't remember.
I didn't follow
But,
that.
yeah, I think I was using 5 watts. Oh, and it's got 10 watts. The radio's got 10 watts. 5 watts on the internal battery like the 705. But I sat there having an SSB QSO, you know, with a couple of these operators, these students, and then their leader. And
Nice.
it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like a good radio. Yeah, absolutely. Something I would consider also, definitely. And it's definitely easily transportable. That's for sure. Much like
I lost your. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Right. It is much lighter than the G90 for sure.
Yeah, and remember the G90, you have to carry an external battery.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, the 100 it's lighter than the G90 without the battery. So definitely, yeah, that would be a good choice. Now, if I had to choose between the two, because I think when I bought the G90, I don't think it. I think it might have been available, but it was a little. It was more expensive, and I wanted to review the G90. But I think if today I had to choose between the two, I'd probably take the 6100.
Yeah, me too. It's small, compact. Actually, it is literally the size of a brick, a little bit smaller than a brick. I think bricks are the same size in most
Just about.
countries. Yeah, so I think that it's a little bit smaller than a brick, and you don't have to connect any. Okay, if you're working Morse code, you need to connect your key. But if you're running data modes, it's one wire, like the 705, one wire between your tablet or laptop, whatever you're using, or your phone, and the radio, one wire, and then the antenna. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I'm going to look at the chat again to see if there are any questions, people ask stuff or make comments. So we have Stephen Jones, we had B. Brian, and let's see if
Says they haven't updated the firmware on the THD 7200 or 7400. They work fine. I agree. I'm really terrified of updating firmware and things.
Yeah, it's a bit of a. It depends on the radio. Some radios it's fairly simple, but not all of them. And the G90 is a big pain to update. I'll do it, but I did it once.
Out of the Tekken says the 6100 is Linux based. That's true.
Oh, it is? Okay.
It's Linux based, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm so angry with this Microsoft. But I mean, for the ham radio community, what choice do we really have? I mean, if you want to use WinLink and things like that, VARA HF and VARA FM.
Mm-hmm.
Wyoming Survival.
Let me see that.
Oh yeah, I had a WinLink message with him the other day. He says he said good things about the 6200 after the last firmware update.
Right.
The earlier release was reportedly hot garbage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably so. That's been my experience previously.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair to Xiegu, they've been really good with getting the firmware updates done, but you have to be patient.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so that's good. So should we switch to the next radio? I think we have a couple
Sure.
left.
Which one is it?
All right, so the next radio, actually we have a couple. I'm gonna first choose one that I picked because the one that the last one will probably talk a little bit longer because we both tried it and you own one. So, but one that I wanted to mention, and it's also a small QRP radio, and it's actually a kit, and it's from QRP Labs. Now QRP Labs, I'm really a big fan of QRP Labs. Hans Summers.
This is going to be a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I've built a lot of his kits, and actually, I've built a lot of kits in my time, and kits from Steve Weber, Dave Benson, well, Hans Summers also more recently, and I mean, those guys have built a lot of stuff. Like Steve Weber was actually was a through hiker, you know, Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. And so those guys know how to build, you know, very small, very light radios. And Hans Summers has built a lot of interesting kits, like the QCX Mini, for instance, or the QCX, which are, you know, CW QRP radios, so CW only. And I really like that stuff, of course. And there is one that I haven't built yet, but that I'm very interested in, and that's the QMX, Quebec Mike X-Ray. QMX, which, actually we have 3 videos left because we haven't talked about the uSDX yet. But
sorry, that's the one I was talking about earlier.
Okay. So no, the QMX is a little bit different. Well, okay, it's a big family of radios because the uSDX actually was inspired from the QCX. So it's basically an offshoot of the QCX, the uSDX. But the QMX is different. The QMX is an evolution of the QCX, basically, by QRP Labs, QRP-labs.com. And it's a 5-band CW radio that also has a built-in interface for digital modes.
Yeah. You know where it failed?
No.
It can only do very narrow bandwidth data modes, no WinLink.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
It's limited to in that regard. So it's not a full-fledged digital mode radio, basically. But
so it's kind of like I think that's a huge bummer. It's the reason I will never buy a radio from QRP Labs.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to call it a data radio, then I want to be free to do whatever data modes I want with it. If you want to say that it's only limited to, like, you know, narrow bandwidth data mode, so call it an FT-8 radio or JSA call radio. But I think it's unfair to call it, or I think it's deceptive to call it a data radio.
Well, for me, I only use JS8 pretty much, digital mode. So, I mean, for me, it's all right.
It's really good at that, by the way.
Yeah, right. But the WinLink definitely would be missing there. That the WinLink is a big disappointment. The fact that it can't do that.
Yeah, and when you ask about it, you get answers like, "Well, maybe that's something we'll look at in the future." But you know, it never comes. It's always the narrow bandwidth data.
Yeah.
But again, it's excellent for JSA call.
Yeah, and well, I mean, Hans is a one-man operation, you know, so I'm sure it's not his full-time job, so he's got a lot on his plate. But I mean, I wanted to mention it because it's an interesting radio, and I wanted to mention QRP Labs because I mean, they have really good stuff for CW. So maybe not, you know, full-fledged for digital, but I mean, it's an interesting model, and I might do that. They even have a QMX Plus now, which covers from 160 to 10 meters, I think it is, or maybe even 6. I'm not sure.
Cool.
Yeah, but and I'm not sure about that one for digital. I have to check that out. But I mean, something
I think I know someone who has this Plus model. And
really? Okay.
They're using it on JSA call, along with an amplifier that's sold by QRP Labs.
Okay, yeah, because he has kits
Was it a,
for amps. Yeah, yeah.
was it a 10-watt amplifier? I don't remember.
The radio is
But
probably 10 watts, but the amplifier's got to be more than that. I did build an amplifier kit, and believe it or not, I built an amp kit, which I'm pretty much always against amplifiers, but I did build an 80 meter 50 watt amp kit from QRP Labs for my 80 meter QCX. And the only thing that's not very practical with it is that it's you have to power it with you have to power it with 20 volts. So
yeah, 20 volts.
yeah, 20 volts. So you have to use basically a 5S LiPo. Of course, you have to get a 5S LiPo, which I have some because of my drones, but otherwise you'd have to buy an extra battery for the.
Are you flying also?
Huh?
Are you also flying?
I build them. I build them and I fly in FPV drones. Yeah, yeah.
We need to have a off-camera chat. Yeah,
Sure.
cool.
Yeah, I've built a dozen probably, and a small one, big ones, all sizes, and FPV. So it's not the controlled DJI, stable drones. It's the very fast ones.
So you're really flying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. I mean, you sneeze and the thing is gone. You can't. You have to control it 100% of the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't take a bathroom break while flying one of those things. I mean, actually, the battery don't last long enough for that. But you can easily reach like 150 kilometers an hour. No problem. So.
But if we continue with the QRP Labs, as soon as they, actually, I might get one of these radios anyway, because they seem to be doing very well with JSA, and that's brilliant.
So the
As soon as
QDX.
they have a radio that has, I'm not sure which one, but as soon as they have a radio which does wider data modes,
Right.
I'll wave the flag.
Yeah.
I'll be right there with them. That's really important. The WinLink is really important. There is no budget radio for. Well, when we talk about the uSDX or the true SDX, then we can talk about WinLink. But yeah, QRP Labs, I should be more kind to them because they are absolutely brilliant on FT8 and JSA.
Right. I'm going to grab my my uSDX actually here. It's not very far. 1 second. And because I show it. Because I think we should talk about the uSDX next, because that's basically has been developed by DL2 MAN and what's the other guy that did the software?
This is the radio I was actually talking about earlier. I made the mistake. I mixed up the BitX with the true SDX.
Oh, the BitX. Yeah, that's another one. That's from the BitX there was a radio from India, if I remember well. Yeah. I did have one of those. I did build one once, and but it's a bit messy. The kit wasn't really well done, basically, and I kind of abandoned it, so to speak. But yeah, all right. So here's one of my favorite radios now. It didn't start that way. Let's put it like this. Okay. And
it looks just like true SDX.
That's it. That's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I just printed a different front face with to have a kind of a sun visor here. Because the screen is an OLED screen, and if you look at it in the sun, you just don't see anything. So, but I mean, that's basically it. Has two boards. That radio has two boards in it. It's a kit, or you can buy it already made. But DL2 MAN, so it's DL2 MAN and PE1. I think it's NMZ.
Yep.
So yeah. So all right. So I guess we can just. I wanted to mention the QMX, but the one I really wanted to talk about is this one, of course.
Yeah.
The uSDX, because this radio, as small as it is an all mode radio. SSB, even AM FM, and CW, and that's crazy. It has 5
I
bands.
have one. I also have one.
Right. It has 5 bands. I think it's 15, 20, 30, 60, 80. So 5 bands. Very good for CW because, of course, it's inspired from the QCX from QRP Labs. I use a lot of the same circuitry. And I mean, it's really tiny, and it's 5 watts output. So with basically a tiny radio like that, you can pretty much do everything. And you can do digital modes too, of course, if you have the interface. You can get a small like DigiRig or something like that.
Yeah, I have a DigiRig for mine.
Yeah, yeah. It has even a built-in microphone and a built-in speaker. The built-in speaker, of course, is so small that it's not very good. But I use a speaker microphone with mine.
Yeah.
So that works really well. I put a
It has
BNC.
a strange speaker interface, though. The speaker mic interface was rather strange.
Yeah, it is, and I had to. I used a Retevis microphone. I have a video on that. I used a Retevis microphone, and I cut. I had to put new plugs on it. Basically, redo the wiring to be able to use it, because the microphone jack is the same as the key jack for CW. So it's a little bit bizarre. I don't know exactly how that works, but it does. And then you have the audio jack here on the side.
Yep.
So you have those 2 jacks, audio and key, and that's all you get basically. You have a PTT button here on top also, and you have the menu button, and you have an encoder wheel here. And you know and a menu button. And you know, the first time I heard about this, I was like, "Oh, what is this? You know, it's a little gadget. It's not gonna." I didn't get one right away because I was thinking that's a gimmick, you know, and it's not gonna work, and and I'm like,
it works better than you would expect.
Exactly, and I'm like, okay, well, for $100, you know, $120 or whatever it was in euros, I don't remember, but so
it was around that.
Yeah, and you have to
Totally
go.
reasonable.
Oh, absolutely, and you have to go on the DL2 MAN website because it has a list of approved sellers and builders.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the Chinese companies, they just copied the design and they modified it, and so you can find that radio, which is, you know, there are a lot of fakes on the market basically, and if you buy one of those fakes, the guys like they try to save money by, you know, butchering the filtering and stuff like that, and using like subpar components and stuff. So you don't want to get a clone or a fake. You want to get a real one that's mentioned on dl2man.com website. But I tried that radio, and I have a few videos about it, and it works pretty darn well. I was like, yeah, no problem. It's tiny.
Hey, man.
I mean, for like prepping purposes or camping, or, you know, I mean, field operations.
I did a video on that radio about a Go kit. Yeah, I made a Go kit, a Go kit for that radio. There was the battery, there was the tablet, and everything you need to do data modes with that radio.
Wow.
In something that fits in a big coat pocket, you know?
Yeah.
And I was doing WinLink with a 500 hertz VADA connection. I don't know, it was an NVIS contact someplace to one of the stations in either Norway or Finland. I don't remember.
So you sent an email with that tiny radio.
I sent an email with that tiny little radio. And,
Crazy.
You know me. If I have to complain about anything, I think the next version of that radio, if they make one, should have an audio interface, and that's it. Just add an audio interface, internal audio.
Just
interface.
add it, yeah.
Just add it, yeah, and have a CW plug, the connector for the CW key.
Yeah.
And internal audio interface, which works over a USB connection, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's probably a lot of work, but
right.
I mean, that's the natural evolution to that radio.
It is.
For $100, hell, I'd pay $200 for that radio.
Oh, geez, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, easy,
it's even worth more than. I mean, it'd be worth like 4 times that. You know, it's just crazy.
Because then you start to get into the Xiegu, you know.
Yeah.
You get into the Xiegu market, so.
Yeah, but size-wise, you're not going to beat this. You know. It's
Yeah,
just,
but you can't
I mean,
compare the user interface. For example, the Xiegu user interface is much better than that one. So
yes,
what are we paying for then? You know? But for data modes, I don't really care about the user interface because
right,
I'm not looking at the screen of the radio.
sure.
Yeah. So, but I wish they would do that. They would sell a heck of a lot more of them. There'd be, let's just say a different way, there'd be a lot more happy operators
Right.
on a budget if they would just add that data interface.
Yeah.
FT8 operators, preppers with WinLink and JS8 call, VAR,
Yeah.
AC. Yeah.
And those modes are the two really that that are used for prepping. It's WinLink and JS8, you know, and that's it.
Yeah, agreed.
Pretty much. I mean, for me, those are the top modes for that kind of operation, and nothing beats them, you know. And I mean, it's just the efficiency and the weak signal decoding capabilities are just out of this world. It's like minus 24 dB or something like that. It's
Have you
nuts. I
seen
mean,
Have you seen my radio on JS8 call? Have you been on JS8 call lately?
not recently.
Yeah, so
It's been some time
always.
because of my G90. My G90 is the radio I used for digital modes and for JS8. So since I had the tuner problem, I haven't tried it.
Fair enough. I thought you were using a magnetic loop.
Oh yeah, the antenna. Yeah, I have the well, yeah, but it's you know, I mean, if I want to use it portable, then it's a problem because then I don't have the tuner. But with the magnetic loop here outside the on my terrace, then I can use it. Yeah, but it's a bit of a pain for me to operate at home because I have such a tiny apartment, just one room, and that's it. So for me to move everything around and set up a station, it's kind of a pain.
Yep. Give me a second. I'm gonna see if actually I'll turn that off for a moment. Give me one moment.
Sure, I'm going to look at the chat just a little
Yep.
quick to see if there are any new developments there, so to speak. All right, so where is it? I lost the video. Okay, here it is. All right, so let's look at the
please
chat.
give a shout out to a guy from Twitter, sorry, from X, called Fatboy Don't Know Poop. Let's call it that. He's just saying perfect timing. He's going to join us in the live stream.
Nice. All right, so yeah, we have a bunch of people here, and I don't see how many watching now. It's actually still 26 on my end. I mean, hopefully more people will find the video later on, you know, not
I
live,
hope so.
but all right. So,
but this is what I wanted to show you. Hold on. If you can see this, this is PSA recorder, PSK reporter. Can you see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is 10 watts from an Icom IC-705 on JS8 call.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, one of my friends, Marco F4TXR, he recently tried to send. He was sending CQs on. I think it was on 17 meters with like 30 watts, and the antenna was pretty much laid on the bushes. You know, I mean, at his house, and I think he got like Japan, New Zealand, and stuff. It was just crazy. Absolutely nuts. I mean, we're at the top of the solar cycle now, so things like that are going to happen, you know, which is good. I mean,
you think so?
Well, I mean,
that we're
it's
at the top of the solar cycle.
Yeah, we are. I think the top is 2025.
Wow.
So I mean, it's probably not as good as the last one, but there are. I mean, there are more DX contacts being made now than 2 or 3 years ago, definitely. Because before I couldn't hear the US at all. You know, like 2 years ago, couldn't hear the US and nothing. You know, and now I hear those guys. So. All right.
Even with CW, you couldn't hear the US.
Right. Well, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I had difficulties hearing the US. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and now it's much better. All right, so I upped the audio here a little bit because people are telling me it's still a little bit too low.
Oh, sorry, guys.
No, it's on my end. It's on my end. No problem. So
I'll move that.
it's a little bit louder now. It should be better for them.
54321 12345.
Yeah, it's enough. It's yeah. You're good here. You're good.
Okay.
All right. So we have.
Hey, well, wait a moment. What don't you like about that uSDX?
Oh, well, it's. I wish it had a better case than the 3D printed one. You know, because
Yes.
it's a little flimsy, really. I mean, when you
Yeah.
carry that, I mean, if you step on it, it's gonna crack. I mean, it's just. Of course, you shouldn't step
More
on your radio.
infield.
But yeah, it's a flimsy case. I mean, it's a 3D printed case. Of course, you can always put it in a different case, but then you'd have to drill it. You know. I mean, I wish there was a case available, and maybe there is that I don't know about. But I wish there was a case available that would be a little more rugged. You know.
I agree.
That's the only thing. Otherwise, it's just. I mean, I haven't found any fault with it, really. You know.
I wish that all of the wires were on one side of the radio.
Aren't they? Oh no, there's one jack on the other side.
Yeah.
I think that's true. And the USB is on the other side. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's also my complaint with the Icom IC-705 that, that all of the wires should go from one side of the radio.
True.
Just to keep it nice and simple for the operator.
Yeah, yeah. And by the way, you can actually power this radio with a USB solar panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, your power output is going to be nothing, you know, but a few hundred milliwatts, maybe. But you can actually use this radio without battery whatsoever, with a small 5-volt USB solar panel, which is kind of crazy too. But hey, you know, if you have to, you have to, right?
That's right.
All right.
What's next on the list, Gil?
All right. So next on the list, let's see. I'm going to go through a little quicker. So uSDX, we did K1, KX2, QRP Labs QMX 705, G90, 6100, FT-818 we did. And the last one will be the Lab599 TX-500. And I'm sure you have a lot to say about that radio. And I tried it too. So I'll let you comment first on that radio. So I know you really like it. That's one of your favorites, isn't it? Or not really? Or do you have another love and hate relationship with it?
I have a love-hate relationship.
Right.
So I love the radio. I love how rugged it is. I love how simple to use it is. And I love that I can hit you over the head with it if I have to.
You could,
and continue operating after you fall down in disbelief.
That's right.
The TX-500 is magnificent. I liked it even better when the battery pack came out for it. Unfortunately, the battery pack that came out for it is noisy when you're charging it. So you can charge it up when it's not, when you're not using the radio, and then disconnect the solar panel when you're using the radio.
Right.
But okay, fair enough. That's a matter of planning. Filters are magnificent. As a data mode operator, it's again one of these radios who's built by a CW guy, and doesn't see the benefit or the problem with all of the. Well, let's say it like it is. I won't filter. It's a freaking tentacle monster. If you're a data mode operator, you have so many cables coming out of it. You have a cable to power it. If you don't have the battery, you have the cable to power it. You have a cat control cable. You have a data audio cable. And it becomes intrusive because these are coming out of both sides of the radio. So if you're operating CW or if you're operating just SSB with the battery pack, it's absolutely brilliant and I love it. It's rugged. I don't care whether it's raining, operating. You know, my dog kicks it over when we're in the tent. I don't care. Because it won't break. It will never break. Connectors won't break. It's unbelievable, actually. And I don't want to sound like a fanboy, because there are those downsides as well. But as a rugged radio for prepping, dude, I think that they're in the right track. and it can only get better. And just
Right.
like I say at many of the other radios, the 817, the 818, and so on, it needs an internal audio interface
Right.
because that would get rid of many of the wires,
I don't know
unnecessary
why.
wires.
I don't know why manufacturers haven't figured that out yet, because pretty much, very few of them do. And I mean, data modes are nothing new.
No,
I mean, they've had
nothing new.
time to figure that out, and still,
Because they're not doing
it's
data modes out in the field to kill. They don't get it.
right, right.
They add an audio jack for connecting up an audio interface, and they think that that's enough.
Hmm.
Icom was extremely innovative. Well, even with the 7200 you mentioned earlier,
Right,
there is you plug in the radio and the audio interface is there. You
right.
don't have to add an external like DigiRig or anything like that. It's there and it works. But these guys, they're primarily CW operators, and I'm assuming. So if that's an unfair analogy, forgive me. But they don't understand what data operators need. So they're an afterthought. Data
Yeah.
operations is an afterthought.
Right, right. Yeah, I understand. Like the same thing, the same way that CW is often an afterthought for a lot of radio manufacturers as well. They just add it as, well, we gotta have it for those guys.
I don't think so. I'm going to sound like a hater.
You think it's
But-
more? You think the CW guys are better treated than the digital guys?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, you can just look at the comments on many of my data mode videos. That's not real ham radio. What some guy said it the other day on my channel. They call them sad hams, who are just criticizing the. I had never heard before.
Oh, I've heard it
And-
plenty of times. Yeah, especially on Facebook. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I nearly caught myself laughing. I couldn't believe it. But seriously though, the CW operators have a plethora of radio choices. Data operators have basically two.
Yeah, we
They've
probably
got the
have more
Icom
than
IC-705.
more than the digital guys. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
So we have the Icom IC-705, and we have the Xiegu X6100, and perhaps I'm talking about man-portable radios, and perhaps the X6200, but I haven't tested it yet.
Right.
So, those radios are designed for data operations.
Hmm.
Full stop. You take your phone or your tablet or your iPad or whatever, and
Right.
one cable or no cable with the 705,
Yeah.
and you're done.
And that's the thing. I mean, we do have tablets now. We do have phones. It's not 1970 anymore.
Don't
you
get
don't
me started on the.
you don't need to lug a huge computer with you. Even a small laptop. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the reason I didn't do much digital modes, because, of course, you need a computer on top of the radio.
Yeah.
But today, I mean, of course, we all carry a phone, so we have the phone anyway.
Yeah.
Or even you take a tablet. So it's not like it's impossible, or you do it all the time. Yeah, exactly, right. Well, there you go. Yeah, tablet with a keyboard. I mean, that doesn't take much space. I mean, so it's not like we have to lug around big stuff, I don't know, but they still haven't. Another thing, also, same thing. I was always wondering why more radios don't have Bluetooth, for instance. I mean, Bluetooth has been around for forever. Why do you need a cable to your headphones? And I guess little by little, they are including those features, but it takes so long. So long.
I think it's one step forward, two steps back in the ham radio manufacturing community.
Hmm. Well, that's what happens when the decisions are made by accountants and not engineers. And in that regard.
But engineers who sit in their tiny little labs and never get outside are
That's
also
true too. Yeah.
as
So it's not
destructive
always.
as accountants.
Yeah. It's not always yeah, it's not always a given, and I mean, you don't know what they're going to come up with. Look at modern cars. The mechanics hate engineers. And
Yeah.
so I mean, but yeah, I mean, I'd rather have an engineer design a radio rather than an accountant. Having to say no, we can't put that in because it's 50 cents more. And I'm sure things
I'd
like
rather
that
have
happen.
an engineer with a use case requirement document put in front
Right.
of him, than some engineer just coming up on his own
Right.
without
Yeah.
any field.
And some
pragmatic
companies
field operation.
and some companies are good at listening to their customers, and some others really don't. But I mean, that's just the nature of the beast, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So anything
Oh.
else? Oh well. Yeah. So the Lab 599, because we had really done talking
Yeah.
about that, right?
Well, okay, let me go ahead and. So many people have been trying to get me to say which is my favorite radio. Obviously, I have passion for both the 705 and the TX-500.
Mhm.
But I think that those are different beasts. We shouldn't be comparing the 705 and the TX-500. I think a better comparison to the 705 would be the X6100 or X6200. And a better comparison, well, I think there is no comparison for the TX-500. It stands out there on its own because it's rugged, it's water resistant or rain resistant,
Right.
and it's a specialty radio. But they need to get rid of these cables, at least a USB interface instead of all of these analog connections for cat control or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's another radio that's coming out from them, a man-pack version of the TX-500. And
I
don't
saw
know what I
that.
did.
Yeah, I saw that. It looks like a big walkie-talkie.
Yeah. I don't know what I did wrong, but after I made a couple of videos about them, and they were giving me the information, for me to share. After I did a couple of videos on that man-pack version, they totally shut me down. They totally cut me off. They don't answer my messages anymore, and so I don't know what's going on with Lab599. I'm a little bit pissed off at them at the moment, but I think that if they listen to the radio can only get better.
Right. I mean, I tried it. I had a subscriber who actually brought
With
me
the
one.
man-pack version.
No, the standard version.
TX-500, yeah.
And I mean, I really liked it. It's really rugged, like you said.
Easy to use.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked it for all those reasons. The other thing that I didn't like was the quality of the cables that are furnished with the radio. Because you get a radio that's really
The push-to-talk, you mean?
well, no, all of them. It's just the wires that I mean. I like the fact that the plugs are the screw-in plugs.
GX connectors.
They're pretty good. I like that. What I didn't like was that the cables were so thin. I mean, I don't know how well they've held up with time on your end, but I was really worried that I would just break one of those cables
Break
just
the wires.
because they're so thin and so flimsy. I'm like, why do you make a radio that's so rugged and you have cables that are like, they look like they're like like earphone, like tiny earphone cables, like really. It's like they
That's good
really
feedback.
picked the thinnest cable they could find.
Yeah, I don't know. Remember, I'm using mostly DigiRig with it, and either the DigiRig or the microphone. So I'm going to open the box for that radio and take a look at the cables. I have some memory that the
Yeah, we are.
Oh,
Also,
okay,
I had one issue that I had one problem, and I had one problem with it. I used an unfed half wave that was for 40 and 20 meters. So no problem there. Made some contacts and
40,
everything.
20, 10.
Everything worked well. Yeah, and 10 also. And then I thought, well, 40 meters, maybe it'll work on 15. So I tuned it on 15, but I was getting common mode currents flowing back to the radio, and it blew the BF amplifier. It blew the transistor, and I had no sound. And I'm like, and that's a radio that I borrowed. It's a borrowed radio, and it happened after I was done with the video actually. But I blew the BF amplifier.
What was the end result?
Well, the end result is that I had to, when I gave the radio back to the guy, apologizing profusely that it didn't work anymore,
Did he hit you with the radio?
No, unfortunately, because that I would be dead. But I gave him some free radio gear, and I apologized, and everything was good. But basically, you had to have the transistor replaced. So the transistor was very sensitive to basically common mode currents. So, and it was my fault. I used it with an antenna that wasn't made for 15 meters.
And
So
without a choke.
right. So and I didn't have a choke on it. And that's it. So I hope they changed that transistor maybe. And I know there were some reports about that people had the same problem. Of course, if you use the correct antenna or use an RF choke, you're not going to have an issue. But I just want to mention it because it's something that did happen. And maybe they changed they switched to a better transistor. I'm not sure about that. But those are the only problems that I had. Otherwise, the radio is brilliant. Absolutely. I really did like the form factor, that it's the fact that it's kind of flat, So it's easy to put in a bag. It's got a lot of, it's a really nice radio.
The TX-500 has something that none of the other radios have. This modular port on the back of it,
Right.
which allows you to connect their battery or other devices like an antenna tuner, I believe.
There's even an amp for it, right? Because you have that. Yeah.
I have that amp, but that amp doesn't. Where's my camera? That amp does it. Sorry if it's getting dark here, guys. Yeah, the amp doesn't use that connector. This is from a DL4 Kilo Alpha, Oliver.
Oh, okay.
And I should do a video on this latest version of his amplifier. This is the newest one. Also awesome. But you can connect this with 4 screws to the back of the TX-500, and it looks like it was made for it.
Right.
Of course, you have these jumper cables, cable,
Sure.
radio to the amplifier and amplifier to the antenna. But generally speaking, the modularity of the TX-500 is something that the ham radio community should be doing.
Yeah, and it's something that military radio guys have been doing for a long time.
For a long time.
Like
yeah.
I use my my PRC. I have a PRC 351, for instance. Well, you have a filter module that you can screw on top. You have an amplifier module that you can sit between the batteries, stack between the battery and the radio, and it's all. There's no wires. It's basically, well, there's one wire for the RF for the antenna, but the battery clamps on the radio. It's just, and it's everything is like that on that radio. The PRC 320, same thing. The battery just plugs into the radio, clamps on the radio. Then you put the neck. It just goes on the radio. The whip antenna goes on the radio. And you just plug in your handset and you're you're communicating, and it's so fast to use. I actually used it recently on my boat 3 weeks ago, and that's the radio I picked because I'm like, first of all, if I get a wave over the bow, and
your favorite radio?
Well, it's one of my favorites. My favorite is definitely the K1, but the PRC 320 is one of my favorites because, and that's like that. I took it on the boat because I'm like, well, first of all, if I get a wave on top of the boat, it rains or anything like that, I don't care. The radio can receive as much water as you want.
You can use it as an anchor.
You can use it as an anchor, and it still works after when you put it up. When you bring it back up, it still works. I don't know how deep it could go without, with leaking, but it is submersible. It's as far as I know, it's submersible, and you know, and but it's so simple to set up. Like 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, and you're operating. You know, out of the bag, operating less than 5 minutes. You know, it's just so
what's your
fast.
favorite radio for prepping, Gil?
You know, if it wasn't for the weight, it'd be the PRC 320 because it's way too heavy. I mean, forget. I mean, that radio was made for 18-year-old soldiers in top shape. You know,
Yeah.
with backs in
30 years ago.
exactly. It's not for us. You know what I mean? And that's a no now. It's like it's impossible. That radio is so freaking heavy. It's just
Yeah.
not something you want to carry at all. I mean, and if you're prepping and you're on foot for some reason, whatever.
And have to carry your food and shelter.
Yeah,
And
you have to
gun
carry
and
so much more stuff.
slingshot.
You're not gonna carry that radio.
I know.
I would say that I don't know. It's hard to decide. But I probably would take the uSDX. But I wish it was in a waterproof case. That would make it the perfect prepping radio because it's so small and it does all modes. And, you know, it has 5 bands, the bands we use anyway. So that would be my choice if it was waterproof. And maybe you can somewhat make it water. I mean, you can transport. I have a Pelican case for it. You know. I mean, I just keep it in there. I'll remove the microphone. All right, so I keep it in this case here, small Pelican case. It's not big, but it has the battery in it. It has everything I need. It has a Morse key. I mean, so I have all the stuff I need in there, and it doesn't take much space. But of course, I can't really use it if it's raining or in a storm or I mean, you know, stuff like that. Because for prepping, I don't have a tent in my with my bug out bag. Basically, I don't have a tent. In cases like that, I'm against tents, but it's for other reasons. Than it's not for well, I'll have to. I'm not going to get into that on this channel.
Yeah.
But a tent for me is not an asset. Always, it can be a big problem. So I would want a radio that I can use
in the open air.
Yeah. I mean, you can always
But
use
that's
a
the
tarp.
only one that's there is the TX500.
You know, you're probably right about that. I think that's probably the one I would pick because of the ruggedness of the radio. I mean, my ideal radio would be anyway a radio like that, and it's the only one that I can think of that's really like that.
Yeah.
So I probably would say so, yeah.
Yeah, for me, and it's tough to say for prepping, it would have to be the TX500.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm trying to get from where I am to where I need to be.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm on foot, and I need to communicate periodically between there and here. The TX500, because it's actually going to survive the trip.
Right.
You know, along with some sort of tablet and audio interface, you know, so that I can check in, grab my messages from whatever, you know, I'm using.
Yeah.
And when I get closer to do this with voice modes or data, and for less critical prepping, let's say, or for everything else, it's the 705.
Right.
Yeah. And if I couldn't afford the 705, it would be the 6100, not the 6200, because I never trust these radios when they first come out.
Yeah.
I rather have a radio that, you know, we have some experience with, we know the bugs, and we know how to fix them.
Sure.
So the 705 and the TX500.
Right. I wish we had more choices.
I agree.
Because I don't think any of those radios are perfect, but they're the closest. They're the closest, basically. And I mean, the only thing that would be better would be like a modern military radio. But then you're talking $50,000 probably. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
it's not something, I mean, the cheapest, I think for like 15,000, something like that, you can have a whole set for a Kodan Mantic set.
Yep.
But I mean, I think the radio alone is like 5,000. So I mean, it's just, I'm not even sure of the prices, but it's not stuff that a regular person is going to buy. It's just too expensive, and they're still kind of clunky. Even
I
the,
know this Kodan Manpack.
yeah.
You know,
I mean, stuff like that. I mean, or Harris, but I mean, they don't even sell to the public. Kodan does, but
yeah.
Harris doesn't, I don't think. And those radios, I mean, you can find them on the, fallen off a truck probably, like eBayers from the Middle East or something like that, and
Yeah.
who knows? But they're still big, chunky, heavy radios. It's just that hasn't really changed. And some of them wouldn't be even available because they have built-in encryption and stuff like that. So it's not really, that market is really not for us. And the problem with the older military radios is that they're pretty, they're getting old, and the components are getting old, and they're starting to fail, and that's too bad. But for the civilian market,
Thank you, Pamela.
we don't have much.
Yeah. 705 had a rugged enclosure and kind of a door to protect the screen when it was not in use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just a design. Why don't we have a rugged option for the 705?
That'd be nice, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not their market really. I mean, the people take care of their equipment generally, so and they're not. They don't buy radios for prepping purposes or survival purposes. They just buy radios to have fun in the mountains.
But one has only to turn on the news to tell that people would be buying radios for prepping.
Yeah. Especially now. Yeah, that's for sure.
Especially now.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
definitely.
so-
I mean, you're preaching to the choir here. Of course, we know that, but and even a lot of the ham radio operators, they're not, they're not into that kind of stuff, and they just. And it's too bad because a lot of the time they're not missing much to make their equipment efficient in a grid down situation, but they just don't think about it, and it'd be nice if people were a little bit more plugged into that side of radio, like more, and that's what ham radio is for too, I mean, even like disaster relief and stuff like that.
Preaching to the choir. I was watching, well, I don't want to say the channel, but I quietly watched, many of the other ham radio channels as well. And this guy normally does reviews on radios and things like that. And he did a radio on portable power. And he had the twist on it for prepping or survival, best battery for blah, blah, blah. And I was reading the comments, and they were just beating the heck out of this guy for including this preparedness aspect to the topic. And I didn't understand, do people really believe these days that, it's not possible for a meteor to fall out of the sky, or for a flood, to come in and flood the city, or, whatever kind of horrific thing, that can happen. I didn't understand, and I don't understand why people are so angry about this topic.
Yeah, well, it always happens to other people, right? I mean, even if you take
It happens to you too. I've read some of your comments as well.
Yeah, I know.
You mean the disaster happens to someone else?
Well, disasters, yeah. But I mean, take Ukraine for instance. People are like, "Oh well, it's in Ukraine." Okay, well, Ukraine is not a backwoods country.
No,
Ukraine is
Ukraine from here.
It's a modern European country, just as modern as the US, and people are just the same people. I mean, it's just, we're not talking about Somalia or, I mean, no offense to Somalians, but, you know, we're not talking about a country where it's been at war for a long time, or it's
Yeah.
seen like disasters, and it's developing country that has no money and stuff. No, it's a regular European country, and they went from normal to a full-on war
Chaos. Yeah.
in no time, in a New York minute, you know. And it's like, okay, well, that, you know, that can happen somewhere. It just doesn't mean it's not gonna, you know. I mean, even France, you know. I mean, we're close to Italy here. That there's some volcano activity recently,
Yeah.
and that can really blow up. I mean, it's possible. I mean, there's a lot of things done, and I think on the whole, we've been pretty lucky. I mean, our generation and the more recent generations, they haven't known really wars. You know, I mean, the last one was probably that affected everyone was probably World War II. And
Yeah.
again, it didn't even affect, you know, people who stayed in the U.S. I mean, not directly anyway. Europe was World War II, and since then, really not much has happened. You know, and not much has happened to the U.S. since the last Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, 1865, and I mean, since then it's like, oh well, everything's okay.
I think that in the USA, I mean, you know, I come from Southern California,
Right.
and I think people, they
Earthquakes.
earthquakes, they're used to what they're used to. You know, they accept what they're used to. You know, I remember this. Was it Long Beach earthquake? And I mean, I've also been through hurricanes and tornadoes, not in Southern California, but you know, back east. And people, if you know that there's a potential for a tornado, that's all you worry about.
Mhm.
And even then, well, you know, I just go in my basement and write it out. You know, the same thing with hurricanes or whatever. You know, but I've been on the wrong side of things at times. You know,
Yeah.
not only in USA or here in Europe, but also in North Africa. I've been on the wrong side of things. So I know that, well, let's say it this way, you know, when you need to get a new passport from a consulate, and the only way to do that is to get an email to your wife, to get an email to the consulate, to say where you are, and get the idea of where you're, you know, when you're going to be there.
Right.
An HF radio, man, is your friend.
Yeah.
But people, you know, these ideas are too, what's the word I'm looking for? They're too magnificent, you know, for people to comprehend. It's like Godzilla coming out of the sea and destroying Tokyo. It'll never happen. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's not stuff that is comfortable to think about, you know, and that's just it.
Yeah.
So maybe if you don't think about it, it's not gonna happen, you know. But
Oh, well, that's a brilliant strategy.
it's unconscious. I think it's an unconscious process.
I agree.
But
I
you know,
agree.
yeah. I mean, you know, of course, it's and even like, you know, inter-group communications, like for, you know, even like handheld and maybe we'll do a video someday about that. But a handheld VHF UHF radio. Well, you know, if you don't have if the phone service, cell phones and the regular landlines and the internet isn't working, right? Yeah, I have one of their T-shirts there, but it's too small now for me.
Yeah.
It shrunk, or maybe. Well, that's okay. But yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know. It's indispensable, you know, and maybe we'll talk also aussi. That's French. Maybe we'll talk about Meshtastic at some point also, because that's a very interesting topic. That scares the ham radio guys too, and they hate it. But not all of them, but
I'm not a hater, but actually we've been testing up here.
yeah, me neither. Yeah.
And I know the pros and cons of it, and I know why it will fail, and I know how to make it work.
Yeah.
I just haven't had the time to put the first video together yet. And none of this nonsense video about license-free communications. I mean, a real life, real world, how to make it work.
Right.
Because it's not as easy as these, you know, these clickbait videos are making it sound.
I'm looking forward to watching that one. Yeah, absolutely.
I need to do it before the darkness comes because then it'll take me another
Oh
6
yeah,
months
right,
to get it
right.
done.
Yeah, geez. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Corner of the up north over there.
Hey, Gil, what do you think if we some questions from the comments before we shut it down?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a last look.
Uh-oh,
Let's see. I'm scrolling
my
back up because I'm sure we missed a lot
camera
of stuff.
died, Gil.
Oh no, you just cut off. Okay. Can you hear me?
I still hear you.
Okay. Well, I guess you'll remain
I
frozen
think
for the remainder.
my camera overheated.
Ah, okay, okay. Well, we can still see you there on the bottom right. It's a frozen image, but as long as we have the sound, the sound is what's important here. All right, so
Yep.
I'm looking at the question real quick. Then I guess we're done. Otherwise, so okay, so Pamela Crabtree mentions the 705. Yep, she would choose that. No internal tuner. Okay. Um, all right, so let's see who else is there. In Paragon is here. That's one of my usuals. Zuklan, okay, he likes the preparedness angle. Lavender Lilac, everyone thinks they're a door kicker. Yeah. Nobody wants to be the Como guy. Yeah, that's true. All right, so we have
California.
bacon whiskey, California. N0 LSD. That's an interesting.
Hey, there's a guy talking about the new Yaesu.
Right, right. I haven't seen
Yes,
that.
Jurgen, I'm in my camper.
Yeah.
But I haven't had it.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. All right, we have N0 LSD who says that a lot of the RS guys are slaves to the repeaters and radiograms.
Yeah.
And it's true that a lot of people rely on repeaters, and I'm convinced that in a big grid down situation, the repeaters wouldn't last but a few days. All right, so we have. Whoops, I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Stuart Hall. Looking forward to your Meshtastic video also. And I'm sure I'm missing some people here. James Thomas. Oh yeah, the California comment. Okay, so Yaesu FT-818. Yeah, I've only seen the photo of that new radio. I haven't really looked at it. And Jorgen asked if you're in your camper, which you are.
Yeah, I am. I'd show it to you now, but my camera is dead. Let's see if I can.
Yeah.
Well, I won't mess with it. I'll just leave it.
You never know what can happen. All right, we have Jacob Castro. What about Baofeng? It's for another video.
Yeah, definitely for another.
They don't have portable HF radios. All right.
That's right. Hey, Pamela was saying my idea of prepping radios, spare batteries, solar charger, etc. Why? Because in their area of Tennessee, power has been out for days during storms and snow. You know, I always say, Gil, and I try to push this, and I get so much pushback. If you have your communications strategy, your communications plan, but you haven't thought at all about how to power your radios, then your plan will ultimately fail.
Yeah.
Power is critical, and power should be as well. I'm preaching to the choir again, but the power should be just up there with the schedule to your group. You know, power is equally as important.
Charging batteries.
Yeah, charging batteries.
Absolutely, and not only solar. Because I mean, I've made the mistake of only be solar powered, but I do have a hand crank for a PRC 320, and that outputs like 28 volts, something like that. But I mean, I still have to make a voltage regulator to charge the batteries with it.
Yeah.
But I'd say that you should have at least I mean, not only solar, but maybe wind and also mechanical hand crank or pedal, cranked generator or something like that, so that if there is no sun, like I mean, where you live, Julian, how do you? I mean, solar power 6 months a year has got to be difficult.
Oh no, my friend.
No.
So I'm solar powered for probably 10 months out of the year, even in
Oh,
the
10.
darkness of
Okay.
night.
I would have
Yeah,
thought like maybe 8. It's 7 or 8, but
it's taken a while to get there, but I have about 1100 watts of solar power now. But that's not really the point. I have 400 amp hours of primary storage, and we're talking about the ham shack now. Yeah, because
right.
that's also the place we go if we need to stay warm. If something happens to the house, if we need to stay warm and a place just to be safe, it's the
Yeah.
ham shack.
Yeah.
So 400 amp hours of battery storage, about 1100 watts, 1200 watts of solar, and 200 watts from the wind turbine. And I haven't mentioned it on the channel yet, but the wind turbine is now also charging the batteries.
Wow. Nice.
And the extra power from the wind turbine goes to a sand battery to keep the ham shack warm, or let's say above freezing. And then there's the diesel heater to keep it comfortable when people are actually in there. So yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But the strategy relies on, and you will appreciate this, energy efficiency. So I'm not going to put some ham radio or tablet or whatever that's going to draw 2 or 3 amps constantly on receive. That's ridiculous.
Sure.
So my ham shack, actually, even this camper now, which I haven't talked about yet, the camper is about 600 milliamps. Everything, the whole camper, not just the radio and the computers, the whole camper.
Oh, wow. That's nothing.
When it's just sitting there is about 600 milliamps.
Yeah.
And I have 280 amp hours of storage. And I call it the bat cave, but the ham shack is about, I don't know, 300 to 500, depending on if I have the screen on the laptop or not.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean 300 milliamps to 500 milliamps.
That's not
it's
much.
nothing.
Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah, and that's where everybody makes mistakes. It's the reason I loved the FT-891, but that's the reason I got rid of it. Because my subscribers, they tried to tell me like, come on, Jules, that's it's pulling an amp or 2 amps sometimes.
That's that's a lot. It goes fast,
It goes fast. So I got rid of all the radios and all the equipment. Well, let's talk just radios. All of the radios which have higher current consumption than like 500 milliamps on receive, I got rid of them. Any radio that had more than 12 amps on transmit, I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So transmit efficiency was the other thing, because the FT-891, in the worst case scenario, took 22 amps at 100 watts.
Yeah.
But for example, Oliver's amplifier, the Expedition version, 12 amps at 100 watts. It's a lot less, and it doesn't basically take any power when it's just sitting there.
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
And you'd probably, I would probably want to have like if something hit the fan, basically, I would probably want to have, if at all possible, to have a radio receiving JS8 constantly. I mean, if I could have it 24/7, I would leave it 24/7.
Yep.
And so basically, I would want that, and that requires a radio that's really good on receive, and I would probably use the QRP Labs QDX, the QDX, which is a digital. Yeah, it's a digital radio, digital only. It's only 2 watts. But on receive
is quite good for NVIS regional comms in JSA.
Yeah, it is. It is actually, and I've made some. I think I was heard in the US on 2 watts.
You were in slow mode.
With slow, in with my magnetic loop antenna.
Yeah.
Actually, my friend Ray, W7ASA, that contacted you recently on JS8, he received me on JS8 also, with that little tiny radio. Yeah, he's my ex Elmer, CW Elmer that I had in Florida. I mean, and we used to have daily scads, daily chats in Morse from Virginia to Florida.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. And often we would like go down to like 100 milliwatts just to check see if it worked, you know. And that's really when I was really big into QRP, and he's big into QRP, and so he helped me a great deal. I'm still in contact with him.
Yeah.
I mean, we're good friends, and he helped me a great deal at the beginning of my CW career, so to speak, and to practice, you know. And but he received me on JS8 once, but I wasn't able. We didn't really make a QSO though. It didn't really. It was just too weak, you know. But I think he saw my station appearing, if I remember well. And but yeah, 2 watts you can go pretty darn far with 2 watts. I mean, I remember one of my longest contacts in CW. I was in Florida, and I made one contact to Estonia, and one contact to the Black Sea, and that was using like 1.3 watts, something like that, if I remember well. So 2 watts JS8, you can cover the whole planet with that if propagation is good, of course. I mean, 5 watt might be better, but it doesn't require a whole lot of power. So if you can leave a radio like that on at all times and it only burns like 100 milliwatts, you know, you're good to go. I mean, of course, you'd have the computer also, but it definitely would be the mode that I would pick would be GS8 as my main digital, you know, survival prepping mode, basically.
Yeah, the narrow bandwidth, low power.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
So I'm sure we'll. I mean, we've made contact before with some difficulties, but.
I think that you're right at my first skip zone. You know, so
Yeah.
I'm either going over you or beyond you. You know, too short or too far.
Yeah, exactly. Because the furthest I go is pretty much England, further north. So England and to the north, I mean, it's kind of the same distance. And I mean, my antenna is open towards you, kind of.
Yep.
But I think it's the skip zone distance that renders it difficult.
Hey man, there's a station in the south of Sweden. Sierra is a good buddy of mine, Jan. Sierra Mike 6 Tango Whiskey Yankee. You should check the next time you're on JS8 call. He's like me. He's got a radio always on JS8 call, either 20 or 40. Another one is Max in Australia.
Right.
To use these guys, there's a couple of stations in Scotland as well. Tony, I forget his call sign right now, but there's a lot of these guys who are always on the air, and we need to use them as a relay because the strength of JS8 call is not the direct contact, it's the asynchronous contact.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So leaving a message for me on some other station, and I'll grab it when I see I get a heartbeat. You know, it'll say, "Hey, there's a message from Gil, you know, waiting for you on this station."
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I should be on more often. I'm not on often enough, and it's just because I don't have a permanent antenna installation, so to speak. Like I have to open my window to let the cable go through, and it's just.
Do you have a rain gutter?
No, I don't. The problem is having the cable come inside the apartment without opening without opening the door. Yeah, it's a glass door. But I mean, if I owned it, I would drill a hole through the wall. But I don't own it, so maybe I should contact the owner and say, hey, can I drill just one little hole there?
Yeah, like a 5 millimeter hole would.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, definitely. That would do it. That would do it. Something permanent, that I can leave the radio on a desk and have it on all the time with the computer. Because I have a computer that's always on here. That's mining cryptocurrencies. So I could.
Topic we should talk about off
Yeah.
camera.
So I could. So that computer could have JS8 on it as well and receive 24/7. Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think, guys? Are we done for the day?
We pretty much covered everything. We didn't talk a lot about the IC-70200, but
that's a magnificent radio, and it's a prepping radio.
Yeah, it's rugged and it's got good filters for Morse code for CW, which for me matters. I think it's good for digital as well. I mean, I really would like to have one. That might be a future purchase. Used 7200. The screen is small. It's LCD. I mean, it's 100 watts. Of course, it's bigger. It's heavier. The batteries are heavier. So it's. I mean, it's probably. I wouldn't necessarily call it man portable, but it's definitely transportable. I mean,
But they have a backpack kit for that radio.
oh, okay, yeah. So
Man pack kit.
yeah. So I mean, yeah. I mean, it's so I wanted to mention it also because it's a radio that I really would like to have, and it has
I'll
6
tell you
meters.
something
Yeah.
about that radio you may not know.
Uh huh.
It has ducting inside of the enclosure.
It has what?
So ducting, like rain gutters, you can call them rain gutters.
Oh, okay.
So that if you get if it's raining on the top of the radio and the water goes inside the enclosure, it is channeled out through these gutters into the bottom of the radio,
Wow.
like out the bottom of the radio.
I didn't know
It's-
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the 7200 is brilliant. And it's also designed ready for data modes, no external interfaces or things like that required.
That's awesome. That's probably
Yeah.
that's probably the next one I'm gonna get. It's probably the 7200. Even though I'm not a QRO guy, but I mean there are cases when it's and just for home use, just simply, and if you can transport it, it's rugged enough that you can put it in the back of your truck and use it, portable at a campsite
Yeah.
or something like that. So that's really good.
I've been thinking about a home radio, but honestly, there's nothing right now that really gets me going.
Yeah.
Like Icom says that the bigger version of the 705 is a 7300. That's ridiculous. That's marketing.
Mhm.
I mean, the 7300 is an awesome radio, but the current consumption on transmit and receive, it's just unreasonable.
Right.
It's not an off-grid radio.
Yeah, definitely.
So this is why I'm still stuck on the QRP radios with the external amplifiers,
Right,
Oliver's
right.
amplifiers, because they don't use any power. I mean, they're just ridiculously efficient.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep,
I would
yep.
love to have a big radio. Maybe that 7200 actually would be nice. But remember, if you have 100 watts, you'll use 100 watts. you
Right.
know.
Yeah, so I need the battery that goes with it.
Is there a battery for the 7200?
Probably what, 10 amp hour, something like that?
Wow.
More?
Have you seen those Power Queen batteries I've been showing on the channel?
Doesn't ring a bell. I'd have to check.
Yeah, you have to search my videos for Power Queen. They're absolutely magnificent batteries.
Power Queen?
Power Queen. Yeah.
Okay.
Lithium. You can find them on my website also, oh8stn.org.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
These Power Queen batteries are lithium iron phosphate, reasonably priced. I mean, if you're on a budget, it's probably the one you want to look for. But
Yeah.
the quality seems quite good.
All
You
right.
know, I've taken them to Lapland. I carry them on the fat bike trips that I go on, and I haven't had one break yet.
Uh-huh.
And the newest one I just bought myself last month was this 50 amp hour version with Bluetooth shunt built in. So on your mobile phone, you can see how much
nice.
power is
Yeah.
being used, and
That's pretty cool, yeah.
I'm rambling, but sorry, buddy.
Yeah, no
always
no
around.
problem. And but that's why we're here, and even though it's the end of the video, it's we can always expand a little bit on something like that. Like I also have to get a solar controller,
Yeah.
probably a Genason for live PO4 batteries, because that chemistry is really interesting, because if you have 4 cells, you're pretty much like 14 some volts, so it's
Yeah.
perfect voltage.
14.2 to 14.4, yeah.
Yeah, unlike the lithium ions, which if you use 4, you're like over 16.8 volts.
volts,
That's a little
yeah.
too much. But the live PO4 are really good, and it's the how many recharge cycles that you can push. You can do with those, but it's hundreds of cycles, so they can last a long time.
No, thousands of cycles.
Thousands of cycles. Jeez.
Do you
Wow.
remember that that solar generator, the big one, the first one I did on the channel, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. That is still working.
Yeah.
I thought it would be dead by now. It's still working. It's still going, and that's what is it? It's about 4 years, I guess.
And that's LiFePO4 as well.
That's LiFePO4.
Lithium iron phosphate. Yeah.
Lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah, that's amazing stuff. I really, that's what I would go for.
Yeah, lots of people are scavenging the batteries and things from laptops and stuff. For me, there's no point anymore.
Right.
Because the lithium iron phosphate is so awesome.
Yeah, it is better. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so I think we have it all. I think we covered everything for this discussion. Anyway, I'm sure we'll have others. Also, everyone, if you want to donate to either of our channels, see the coffee donation right down below. So that's for me, and otherwise go to Julian's channel, OH8STN, and because channels like our channels, I mean, we don't do this for money. We probably spend more money than it brings us. I mean,
Definitely.
you know how that goes, Julian. I mean,
I do.
If we did that for money, we'd be on the street already.
Yeah. I was just explaining to my wife why I'm spending another 2,000 euros on it.
Right. Yeah, I'm single. That's easier.
Yeah.
So, guys, don't hesitate to help our channels, Radio Prepper and Julian's channel, Survival Tech Nord. So, are you on Patreon, Julian?
I am.
Okay,
also,
so yeah.
Everywhere. I'm at OH8STN everywhere.
Yeah. So, patreon.com, that's a good way to give a few bucks every month without having to think about it. And otherwise, just use the coffee link right down here, or Julian's. You're going to put the file on your YouTube also, right?
Yeah, I may chop it up so that it's not the same.
Yeah, because we're already at like 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Has it been so long? Sorry, buddy.
It's very long. No, that's great.
Really
it's great.
Talking with you, Gil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have to do it again. Absolutely.
All right. Hey, should we tell people our plan, or just leave it there and come back to it later?
Well, we'll just I'm not. We talked about a lot of things. So we talked
I meant about like live streams and things like that.
Oh yeah, well we can talk about that. Yeah, we want to do more live streams, like a regular live stream.
Yeah.
So you guys just let us know what you think about that. But I think everybody will probably agree that it's a good idea.
Yeah. I will set up this live streaming also on my channel sometime so we can alternate.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's how we learn. I've learned a lot of stuff today. I mean, it's stuff about the 705 and stuff about other radios that I didn't know, and that's the objective
why data
here.
modes are superior and. All right, brother, man, you're awesome.
Very good.
Thank you, Gil, for this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll talk to you later on Telegram again. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you've got all my numbers, no problem.
Yep. Okay, everyone. Thanks, and sorry about my camera dying. I'm gonna throw this in the trash and order another one, I guess. But I really appreciate all of you. I appreciate Gil for hosting this live stream, and hopefully we can do it again pretty quick.
Absolutely.
If you have some ideas for the live stream, guys, please let us know. Yeah. Please
absolutely.
Let us know.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm out of here, Gil. Thank you again, buddy, and I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.
Absolutely. Have a good